So I say, I pity the first man who does not need to breathe, which is cool. To me, that ties into the whole Sith or Larry discovery, where it's like, I invented the way his biology works around what it would feel like for him to breathe because I wanted something that would make me focus on my breathing. And that's an interesting, like, Larry is like the epitome of the opposite of that, where it's like, what I'm saying when I say I pity the first man who doesn't need to breathe, I mean I pity the first person who doesn't have a constant reminder that they're alive and that they must consume to continue existing. And Larry is like the epitome of consumption, literally creating existence. Like every breath creates everything he experiences. So that's interesting.
That'd be a cool contrast to the robots that he's fighting that don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and then also like what you said, where he you came up with the idea that at the end of the war, the insectoid civilization would essentially consume him, and thereby understand how to use individuality. And you I think you initially positioned it as like, and then like maybe it solved the conflict, but then what it evolved into was the concept of it basically being the winning piece for the insects, where it's like all they needed was to overcome the stupidity of the hive mind, and when you integrate individuality into the hive mind, you get the best of both worlds. And that's like whenever you are right brain controlling the left brain. It's like whenever individuality is something that is allowed in proper portion. And like that is so cool. It's like literally a left brain right brain discovery that is taking place as a sci-fi war. You say, can you call later about the Iron Ape and video ideas? I don't know what Iron Ape is, do you?
I don't know exactly, but that's a period backwards.
Okay, weird. Good call out. I say in breath finite, out breath infinite.
Deep in breath, and then open your eyes with the out breath. Wait, you say in breath finite, out breath. I was saying the opposite. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, we're just, in general, it's like you just sit down in meditation, but like you go in and out of opening and closing your eyes. I wonder if that'll. I bet if you do that for like over 10 minutes, that'll be pretty funky in general. I've also 10 Sub-Zero minimals, like since I started. I saw like really a spaceship being chased with laser shot at it, like 8-bit pixel graphics. Like that's what I've seen a long time. And that's what really my eye. And it was with this new framework. This new framework, it helps every it's so weird how it's like a pepper follows the old trick. I mean, when your eyes or meditate or do anything that we used to do, live jack, it's like makes all those things more powerful. It's just fascinating. Ataraxy. I just felt like a full on fucking DMT did it all. Fucking saw God, dear Lord Almighty. The fucking head ringing, the feeling of movement, the blast off, the motion, the ringing in my ears. Wild. Sub-Zero and framework. Rub my eyes, music. Don't fool what I tell you.
I say,
I am not. I just felt fully yet, but what's your thoughts on what was formerly called, what was currently called perception structure?
yeah, just take forever to function. That would be great. Thank you. I say everything is a visual. I use the exclamation marks to point out that is important. So.
I have not fleshed this out fully yet, but what's your thoughts on what was formerly called, what was currently called perception structure? I'm thinking, I'll just name that works for us, but it's not self-evidently, good name for it, based on someone who doesn't know it. So one of the things I was thinking about was the word pattern, in relation to texture, or pattern, being, the pattern is like the whole thing. Pattern is the full picture. It's the whole art piece, it's the whole perception structure. But, in an individual art piece, in an individual pattern, there are singular lines and shapes. Those are the textures. But textures are part of the greater pattern. So I was thinking maybe using that word pattern to say perception structure. So I think it relates to texture better, and I also think it's just a better term to use for that word. I was thinking in line with thought texture, it could just be thought pattern. Pattern, line pattern, row pattern, any of those things. Pattern structure, pattern framework, pattern infrastructure. I don't think just pattern. Like pattern, literally anything else to make people understand that it's not literally the word pattern. I say yes. Like neuro pattern, you know, pretty good. Again, I figure just like in some way, the full name is thought texture. What you say text.
Jesus.
Your full name could be thought pattern. What you say pattern. First of all, we typically do say thought texture. I mean, when we say we just want to say the texture of, but so we could say the pattern of, but pattern isn't like used like that. Pattern isn't used in that way where it uses the verb and noun. Every fucking piece of wordage that is. Everyone knows. Anyway, the point is, it's not the same kind where it applies to things. It only applies to itself. It is a noun. I think it's the one that would be. It is a thing in itself. It will only ever be referred to as a thing itself, not as something to be applied to something else. Also, I'm kind of tempted to go back and change thought pattern. I mean, we could of course just throw neuro on both of them. I don't know. I like giving like thought is just a bit dull and doesn't like play it that all the time. Not exactly a thought texture because thought has implications of consciousness. I don't know, something like visceral texture and neural pattern. Those are cool, but yeah, it doesn't need to be two words. And like you said, we call them both thought and then call them whatever. I'm also down to call them both neuro and then whatever. Change thought. So we've got neuro texture and neural pattern, and then for those brain, in other words. But I am also interested in potentially seeing the different starting words. You know what I mean? Neuro, visceral, mental, mind, whatever. You know what I mean? Logos, psycho pattern, and psycho texture. I like neuro texture and psychopath. I don't know. Or I still like spot texture. Spot texture sounds nice. It sounds like it's meant to be. Maybe like psychopath. I've been thinking about that all day long. I've got no idea. Because I lost it a little bit today, and then how do I just go write that myself? How do you write that down? What the specific is? And cool. Well, I was thinking that there's three layers of affirmation. And so I've been thinking about that all day long. I've got no idea. So the first level is.
Can we not?
So if something happens, you have to acknowledge it first. You have to say,
Stop! You stupid cunt! It just like for no reason is now lagging horrifically. It's a phone. The phone I had this phone for years. The issue is that the screen's broken, not that it's laggy. I don't know why now all of a sudden it's lagging. This is retarded. Anyways, you heard all that thoughts, all those interesting things where we decided on thought texture and psycho pattern. That's interesting. You say, oh, I didn't even realize there were both alliterations. I don't vibe with that. How would you define affirmation to someone? So apparently there's affirmation. I'm sure this is early appreciation.
I've got no idea. Because I lost it a little bit today, and then out of it. She's like, how do I just write it myself? How do you write that down? What the specific is? And
Wow.
This is something that's true. It's happened. It's a fact. You know, whether it's something negative in your life, like this did happen. You know, where your mind wants to say this didn't happen, or it couldn't get ways where it couldn't happen. How much better life would be if this didn't happen? You know, life denying stuff. It's something acknowledgement would be life affirming stuff. Which is ironic because the next term is affirmation, which would be now you're agreeing. Now you're not just saying it's simply true, as in yes, I acknowledge that it is real. Now you're saying I agree, and that I'm on board. I am personally confirming this. I am making it known to myself. And I'm it was something like to positively be like, yes, this is a yes. I'm affirming. I'm saying yes to this. Not only is it true, but I'm saying yes, it is true. And that it is good for me. And then after that, the third level is then appreciation. So after you acknowledge it, after you agree with it, then you appreciate it. And then then you can fully just appreciate have the full positive feelings, the full result of the system in the first place. Just all the emotions that result from the end of that. And there's an interesting way to categorize it also in a. And then one of the important thing is a lot of people in life don't do these things, two aspects of life, and thus they have bad lives. And thus you do this to all aspects.
That is insane. You just got a straight up appreciation call out.
Yeah, that's wicked.
What was the first, second, and third layer?
Well, I was thinking that there's three layers of affirmation. And so the first level is acknowledgement. So if something happens, you have to acknowledge it first. You have to say, yes, this is something that's true. It's happened. It's a fact. This occurred. You know, whether it's something negative in your life, like this did happen. You know, where your mind wants to say this didn't happen, or it couldn't get ways where it couldn't happen. How much better life would be if this didn't happen. You know, life denying stuff. It's something acknowledgement would be life affirming stuff. Which is ironic because the next term is affirmation, which would be now you're agreeing with it. Now you're not just saying it's simply true, as in yes, I acknowledge that it is real. Now you're saying I agree, and that I'm on board. I am personally confirming this. I am making it known to myself. And it was something like to positively be like, yes, this is a yes. I'm affirming. I'm saying yes to this. Not only is it true, but I'm saying yes, it is true. And that it is good for me. And then after that, the third level is then appreciation. So after you acknowledge it, after you agree with it, then you appreciate it. Then then you can fully just appreciate have the full positive feelings, the full result of the system in the first place. Just all the emotions that result from the end of that. And there's an interesting way to categorize it also in a life that you live.
In other words, that perfectly prepares you for synchronization with that thing, which would allow for maximum enjoyment of it.
You want to give a modern rundown of each of those concepts?
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right, so preface, what are our problems in life? The problems are in life with are the obstacles that we face, the narratives of our life that get in the way of stuff, whether it's negative negative events or people or thoughts. It's something about our life. It's a piece of our life. It's a piece of our awareness that we don't agree with, that we don't want. It is an outlier. It's an other. It's separate from me because I don't like it. And there's so many aspects of our life that are we don't want, that we don't even want to think about. And you can literally have a problem in your life and your mind will know it's an issue, but it will literally ignore it and push it back and not think about it because that is more satisfying than actually having to deal with it. And this is like denying aspects of your life. It'd be like if you had a third arm and you just pretended it didn't exist because you didn't want it and you just completely ignored it. Like, but it's not true. You have other aspects of your life that you need to accept first to fully operate in the world. And so that is where the first step comes in, which would be to acknowledge something, and that is simply to just look at it straight in its face, look at it in his eyes, and be like, yes, this is a part of my life. I see how this has happened, why this phenomenon occurred in my life. If it's a person in your life, like why did this person come into my life? What are the habits that I don't like about that person, or the negative thoughts I would have, and to just sort of understand the situation, to analyze what is truly going on, and to look at the situation objectively, and just obviously step out of your emotions and just look at it as it truly is, which is this is a facet of your life. Whether that is a positive or negative emotion that you feel from that, it is a part of your life, and that any aspect of your mind trying to push it aside is unhealthy and not going to get what you want. And so first you should acknowledge that thing. And so after acknowledging that thing, then you do the thing which probably could be the hardest step, which is to affirm it and actually agree with it. And this is Yeah, it's very fascinating. It's definitely the hardest part. And so it would be to accept that your life as it is it's the cards you've been dealt with, and you have to accept it. And you see how all the facets of your life have added up into one story, and that story in itself is a story that you're on, and that you are on board with it. If it was a book, you're on board with the book. And if the characters are making choices you don't understand, it's
It's
you
literally
see how
my.
it fits.
Go ahead.
I was saying you see how it fits into the plot. But what are you going to say?
I was just saying. I mean, as you heard, it's literally the banks thing I was talking about earlier in the call. That's, I mean, we're literally word for word. You said like you appreciate it from like a narrative perspective, where you're like, but if I was a character in a book, I would like if I was reading this as a book, I would understand that this is perfect, that these moments are beautiful. Um, and it's like that's how
Yeah,
I.
yeah, and
Go ahead.
no, you
No, I was seriously. You go ahead.
um, yeah, and that builds up. You'll realize that at the end of the book, it'll all make. It's like your Evangelion argument. It's like, well, at the end of it, it all makes sense. Like, it's because it's a perfect piece. All those negative aspects uh
Actually
added up to something.
retroactively become positive. Like the all of those aspects that at first were grating, they actually become necessary for you to appreciate the payoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, exactly. Yes. Yes. I actually think that perfectly maps onto, if you want to do an older edition. Well, so you could say here's three different ways. I'll just throw them out. Black hole, white hole, wormhole, same thing. Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, interrobang, same thing. And feedback or appreciation, feedback loop, same thing. Um, you could even go as far as say Zix, Azix, Xazix, the same thing, but now you're pushing it. You have to use like story definitions and stuff. But anyways, yes, all trinities line up to that same thing, which is the
Yeah,
inevitable.
my idea was this one was like it's supposed to be for like all the other ones, and it is exactly that, and in the same way that I guess I had the connotation that those larger frameworks, um, that they're more of like the overarching framework to go back into the ancient vocabulary. But the more this would be something that you would actually run on like a thought you're having. Like, oh, this is something I'm consistently thinking about. Well, I'm literally going to run it through this particular framework filter, and I'm just going to have that be obliterated. And I guess you definitely could do that with all the others, but I just wanted the words to be as simple as possible. Um, so that like the definitions of load sort of carried whoever was listening.
Yes. I 100% see. Well, I would say that that's probably a good idea. Like that's probably basically the direction I've trended in as far as going to appreciation, feedback, and feedback loop. Where I'm just trying to return back to human language because white hole, wormhole, all of these great grandiose terms, they just make you think about separation. Whereas those terms you use are basically trying to make you think about actually rewriting the language that's presently there instead of like some abstract concept that you need to go towards. So not only do I agree with that, I think that that's actively a good direction to move those trinities towards.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm thinking there are three.
Go ahead.
at the very least, it would be like when you're speaking of appreciation, that would be like I don't know, like the bullet point sub layers that preface it, I guess. Like it'd be good training wheels, I guess.
Explain that.
So like as you're talking about the concept of appreciation, my idea was that like so you'd have acknowledgement, affirmation, and then that leads to appreciation. And so, but like that's not to say that they're separate. As the final step encompasses them all in that one. And
Go. What are the three again?
so
Say
so it
about.
was acknowledgement,
Just
affirmation,
send
and
them
then
over
appreciation.
Discord, because if not, I'm gonna be like Papa over here asking you a million times.
Yeah. So acknowledgement, affirmation, and appreciation.
Just like I said, put them in Discord. Like put them in the chat.
Yeah.
By the way, specifically, I think if we're talking about the language, uh, I think that the one out of those trinities that was actually like straight up equivalent to this is the question mark, exclamation mark, interrobang, where literally like acknowledgement is the process of questioning to figure out what am I thinking? What are these thoughts? As like, so you're like trying to acknowledge them, trying to like step behind your
Yeah.
thoughts, right, and acknowledge them. And then affirmation is like the exclamation mark or your ego saying like I am God. And then appreciation is the interrobang, or like the actual wormhole where you're not even the thing which is God. You're like the actual process itself, and there's just joy left over. Um, and I went to religious scale, but I like question mark, exclamation mark. Like, I don't think that needs to be applied at a religious scale, where you could literally view that as like the sentences in your head. If it's a question, you need to convert it into an exclamation, and then the interrobang is the process of going even past the exclamation into a feedback loop. Um, but the reason I wanted you to write this down, you were saying something. I interrupted you to tell you to write this down. You were already saying something. If you want to try and remember it.
So I was going on. I think I just recapped acknowledgement and affirmation. Not remember the specifics.
I'm thinking about, and this isn't even necessarily as good objectively as far as I think your word's better, but as far as remembering it, I think it would be easier if the second word was analyzation, and maybe even switch acknowledgement for affirmation. So you have affirmation, analyzation, appreciation.
Well, okay, the specific nuances of those words, I feel like make a little bit more sense than that.
I agree, but then I think the actual process of running them, that's not the case. Like, in other words, if you look at the dictionary Jesus Christ, the dictionary definition, then you are correct. I had to put on a white person accent there just to fucking say the word. But I think when you actually think about running it, I think that the word analyzation calls to the process but I'm not sure about that. I'm not definitively making that statement. I'm saying that is something to think about.
I would say is like, in a sense, like, yeah, you're analyzing the situation, but the second step is supposed to be like
No,
like
I
the
apologize. I think what I'd actually do is I would do analyzation, affirmation, appreciation. What about that? Because I feel like acknowledgement is sort of a Buddhist type word, and analyzation is more like a Western type word. So it's not that either one of them is better, but it's that acknowledgement promotes that idea I don't personally like of like objectivity. Well, the Buddhists do it in a way where it's not actually objectivity, so they're not technically doing anything wrong. But or not the Buddhists, more like the Taoists. But you know what I mean. Or do you? That was very.
I mean, like I definitely agree. It's just like my connotation of it is like to analyze it, like first you've already accepted that it's there. But I'm saying like we're talking the step one. We're talking step one, which is before you could analyze the situation. It's like,
Well, at
but what
that
do you
point,
analyze?
my question would be, what role does that serve in someone trying to run it, like, or understand it? Where it's like, um, who like, in other words, I would agree that acknowledgement would be the first step, but I would also say that it's almost like telling someone to get like a cup for the water. It's like a
Well, but the thing is, like,
unnecessary step.
it leads because like it can be unnecessary. But the reason why I include that in the first place is because of like because the of all issues you have, the worst issues will be the ones that you don't even think about and don't consider and actively avoid and ignore and deny any thoughts that you have of.
But
That
wouldn't
is,
isn't the process of finding those analyzation and not acknowledgement? Because you can only acknowledge the things that are already within your purview. That's kind of like what I don't like about the Eastern thing. Is it's like you need to acknowledge what is there, and it's like yeah, but the whole thing is like the fact that if you try and do that, you're gonna miss something because you can't be the thing which is acknowledging. You have to be the process of analyzation so that nothing is left
I guess
behind.
my connotation of acknowledge is like my like I am accepting you as a part of my life. I'm accepting that this is an aspect of my existence, and I know can no longer like put that aside. I can't ignore that anymore. Um,
I would say that, like I said, these words are like perfectly interchangeable. I would not say that one is better than the other, but I would say, um, I feel as though the content of acknowledgement is contained within the definition of analyzation. However, analyzation holds the context of a process that is important in making sure people don't get caught up in the idea that they can be the acknowledger.
yeah, in like analyzation would be like a perfect term for like all of them, like as a process, like to analyze. You would do those three things, and all of them would fit under that category. I feel uh, like that. Yeah, just as far as the connotation of the
No, I
word.
don't think so. I really don't at all. I think that analyzation would only fit as the first one because analyzation would be the starting step. And like in other words, like even in your process, I think that there's a step missing between acknowledgement and affirmation that would be the analyzation because it's an inevitable part of the process whether it's acknowledged or not. At some point, you
Yeah,
have
that's what I
to.
was thinking. Like, an analyzation would be like that sub part. It would be like step one, two, two is
Yeah,
analyzation.
but then what I would say is like, but if that step includes the first step, then instead of taking it as an implied step, you make it inherent by just replacing the first word with analyzation. So then you just have analyzation, affirmation, and appreciation, and then the process would be you would search your mind for the all of the thoughts, and then you by that process you would actively acknowledge all of them. You would be aware of all of them, and then through that you would try and guide all of them towards the process of affirmation. You would try to guide your active mind state in the direction of affirming, and then through that you would reach appreciation, where you would then
So your main argument is that to analyze,
already be
you would end
acknowledging.
up acknowledging things.
Yes, but to acknowledge, you're leaving out the inevitable step of analyzing.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah, I see that.
um, we should write both of those down though in modern. Or I guess we can do that in the video. But I don't know. I kind of want that on shorthand.
Well, so I wrote down the other three, and then I'll just write down analyzation question mark right next to it.
And then say as step one. Hmm. That's weird. I like analyzation, affirmation, appreciation. Like I like that as a framework I would use in my own life, but I don't know where to fit that into the pyramid. Really, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what character to give that, or like it doesn't even need to fit onto the pyramid like physically, as long as it's expressed by one of the characters in the pyramid to
I,
like further the explanation.
to me, the beauty of it is like it's like stupid simplicity. So like maybe that at the end of it is like that's just what Braxel just like gives to someone. It's like, man, this is what you do with a thought texture.
Braxel's right now he has one, which we're gonna get to by the end of it. Braxel's the last one you know about, and it's not that different. But the last one you know about is appreciation, feedback loop, and so like that would be what Braxel's is right now. The modern equivalent of that is Braxel's things, and maybe like we could just do both. But then you've got like two versions of the same thing, or I mean, just combine them, flatten them. But you'll see. You have to see what the modern one is. The modern one is fascinating. Okay, go
Mhm.
over, go over. Okay, to put in Discord. No, put it in the taskboard chat we created on Voxer. Put all of everything that's on Discord right now. Get it off of Discord and put it in Voxer where we actually see it again. And then tell me once you did that, because there's another thing I want you to write.
All right, done.
Okay, now write appreciation, determination, collapsible versus analyzation, affirmation, appreciation.
Versus analyzation. What?
Affirmation, appreciation. So, read it back to me.
Is it appreciation, determination, collapsible versus analyzation, affirmation, appreciation?
Say that again, slowly.
Appreciation, determination, collapsible
Yes.
versus analyzation, affirmation, appreciation.
And then say for Braxel's spot on the pyramid and hit send. Sweet. We good?
Yeah, I got sent.
Good stuff. Okay, well, we'll talk about that after we get to the modern interpretation. And remind me if we don't, because I want to talk about that.
I've been thinking about that all day long. I've got no idea.
Okay. Thank you. Stop lagging. Thank you. Stop lagging. Stop. Yeah. God damn it, you cunt. No, don't do it. Why would you do it? What? God damn it. All the way down. I don't know why this time. Fucking retarded. God. Retardation. What if we called it appreciation retardation?
Oh, that'd be sweet. They would love that. Finally, I would get them to click.
It's like that based retard gang. Reaching enlightenment through lobotomy. Stop. I don't want spoilers. I want you to go up, you stupid cunt. Jesus. For some reason, April is seemingly a big month for us.
Of both years?
No, we're still in 2022, but I'm saying, like, I'm trying to get through April, and it's like, it takes forever to get through April compared to all the other months. You say we will have to do a call later. You say also, I was just thinking that we need a word for he who exists, like a word in reference to a being, a node. But then I realized we had ASICs, which sounds similar to exist. Funny enough.
As far as he exists, it's like I call him man-made somewhere. Man-made exists and we're just doing every single name that day. And I'm getting super quality. But that's every shit I want to do more routine than on that pattern. It's a man-made decision. He exists. I think interesting is all the video signatures of what we associate with my patterns, with geograph patterns. I think that those. Yeah, but it's
I don't know why somebody just started to understand. I'll slow this one down and put it in higher volume. Jesus.
Yes, but it did something to do about it. What is it? Anyways. As far as he exists, it's funny, I call him the man who made the decision somewhere. The man who made the decision to exist on the nation. And I'm on a list that goes over every single name of that man. And I'm going to be able to switch all of them. But yes, I should have one or two more routine than calling the mad pattern, God, the infinite made the decision. He who exists. You know, all that stuff. Or the things that you want to attribute into your own personality.
If I listened to it another million times, I could figure it out, but I don't care. Maybe later. You say, thankfully, I can still make out everything that's said on the call. Just listen back first 20 minutes. You say, good. What should our video's title be? I was thinking something like, what's the funniest joke ever told, or what if God told us a joke?
Something else very interesting with this sort of book is something that's very important is something interesting is all of the particular signatures of what we associate with mad patterns, with geograph patterns. I think that those are the things that you want to attribute into your own personality as you want to sort of be a conduit. Something else very interesting with this sort of I should just put it in the chat. Nothing very important is the fact that it appears that perfection is the way to hold on after you get on the ski lift that is the mad pattern. So after you essentially achieve the initial right through side, fear side, associative side. After that, then you essentially enforce perfection with the breeding to hold on to that. The importance of distinction time-wise is not perfection as an appreciating, it's perfection. It's sipping on, it's appreciating the taste, it's appreciating the perfection, sipping on wine. That's the reality. You're not realizing that it's perfect. You're sipping on the.
This is crazy. We're literally talking about perfection, or I'm sorry, appreciation right here. We're using the word perfection as well, supplemented in to talk about the same concept.
No, not just Joker. That's just one quality is where, and also just one more the Joker does not have. I suppose you.
Wait, hold on. I say mad pattern into perfection qbit. Fine wine qbit. This is basically code daemon, or like qbit is supposed to represent like the concept of like binary code, basically, where it's like there are only so many qubits, there's only so many binary code, there's like a direct, you can measure what the qubits do and that will reflect exactly what happens on the computer. You can measure what the binary code does and that will reflect exactly what happens on the computer, 1-to-1. There's like it's 100% correlation. It does equal causation, right? 100%. And that is the concept of like frameworks, or like physical matter arranges in the best order. You can arrange it in the best order and then you can appreciate it. And this is the concept of like you can be the mad pattern and then that can create perfection, and then like there's a qubit, there's like a way to like unfold that perfection in the best way possible. There's like a way to arrange matter in order to achieve the most perfection, and that's what the mad pattern does. Like this is a very complex, shitty, rink-a-dink version of the later.
Replay that message.
I'll replay the last couple.
Just the one talking about the qubit.
There was no message talking about that, I don't think. Or maybe there was. I didn't hear that mention in the message. It was just a text.
Oh, can you read that again?
Yeah, I say mad pattern into perfection qubit, fine wine qubit. I think I probably explained it in the next couple voice messages. Let's see.
The importance of distinction fine wines is not perfection, it's an appreciating its perfection. It's sipping on. It's appreciating the taste. It's appreciating the perfection. Sipping on wine. That's God. You're not realizing it's perfect. You're sitting on the I think as it puts on the intrinsic
So did you hear that? I'm talking about feedback loop. I say it's like it's not the achieving perfection. It's like you're sipping on perfection. It's not like you're like thinking about how good a steak is. It's like you're actually reveling in the experience of how wonderful the steak is, and there's no other thing you could do except be shocked and awed at its wonder.
Yeah, it's a very important piece of my pattern with everything is random, not just in the sense that it is random, but random in the sense that everything that you see is random, and everything that you see is bizarre, intrinsically bizarre. It's a very important piece. It's better to embrace a certain element, honestly, like perception, or is it best?
I'm gonna replay the last few. I don't know why these sound so bad. I don't know what the fuck I was recording on.
The importance of distinction fine-wise is not perfection, it's an appreciating its perfection. It's sipping on. It's appreciating the taste. It's appreciating the perfection. Sipping on wine. That's God. You're not realizing it's perfect. You're sipping on the perfection. You know, it's not just Joker. It's also sub one qualities where, and also there's one more the Joker does not have. I suppose you could classify it as its bizarreness, the intrinsic bizarreness, intrinsic it's a very important piece of my pattern with everything. Is random, not just in the sense that it is random here, but random in the sense that everything that you see is random, and everything that you see is bizarre, intrinsically bizarre.
So right here, I'm separating interdimensional from Joker, or the smile. It's interesting. I've started using interdimensional again lately, and I didn't understand what interdimensional was. So I heard it on the voice message last couple days ago. I've never had a framework revive itself like that, in a way where it's like I don't even have like a modern interpretation. It just straight up came back from the dead as soon as I heard it. That's weird. No framework's ever done that before, so interdimensional wins a little award for that. For fuck's sake, am I this retarded? What was I just talking about? What were the voice messages about? The Joker. The Joker is just the smile framework, all of those, the Saturn smile, it's all of those. It's just the concept of like God is inherently like laughing and smiling at existence, and thereby you are laughing and smiling at existence because you are God. And then I separate that from the concept of what I call bizarreness. So in other words, that's pretty similar to what I was saying at the beginning of this call, I think, where it's like, I'm trying to figure out like what is the connection between the like the like the smile which laughs in the face of God, which would be the Joker framework, and the interdimensional, which is like the manifestation of God, how like those two ideas connect, like how the Joker connects to, like I said, this concept of abstraction, how like those two do not seem to be the same thing, and yet they are synonymous and each happen with each other due to some underlying process, is basically what I'm saying here.
It's a very important piece. That's an open faith. Much part is viewing the self as bizarre. Viewing reality as bizarre is easy, but the part which truly separates the associated quality is something you feel every thought text that you experience, every moving of the hands, belief, everything, every piece of that in your mind becomes intrinsically bizarre. Being aware becomes intrinsically bizarre. So the fear that's going to be not emphasize a particular element, but the fact for bizarreness is better to leave it open-ended, focus on the breathing, focus on the initial initial dissociation from the ego with the system of the content. And then the very important distinction to make is thought texture, that everything is thrashing thought texture specifically. Not just thrashing everywhere, but thrashing thought texture specifically for that. Now this is pretty interesting. I was having trouble applying the framework to the content because it was like when I was focusing on how intrinsically bizarre things were, I couldn't focus on, like, I'm listening to the toe with a guy who's like curing cancer and creating like xenobots and finding the electrical impulses in DNA and controlling it. So it's like extremely high level science, not spirituality. And I'm needing to like work with my left brain, and I'm having trouble finding, well, how do I make my left brain work with this framework? And the answer is, right? You're trying to convert the left brain into the right brain. You watch the left brain with the right brain. So essentially, what that means is there's a you, right? There's the you, which is that's fascinating. Top ego, bottom ego actually does come out of content specifically. And essentially, what you should do is you should view there should be the action that put on the podcast, and the action that's listening to the podcast, and then there should be the thing watching it. And those are two separate things. Which is very interesting. We should explore that further because that can be a lot more nuanced than I just said. And that's very important.
It's so funny how I'll do something like that.
Embrace a certain element
like,
on the page. Now this is pretty interesting.
Can you shut the fuck up? Thank you. I'll say something like that, which is literally the origin of like the whole going beneath the language, or the man behind the frameworks, like the whole like left brain, right brain distinction. That means that you are not the language, you are the thing which watches the language, like the first iteration of appreciation being connected to that idea. And then I drop it in that way where it's just like retarded and understandable, and then afterwards I literally say like, yeah, but there's a way to say this a lot better. Like, it's so funny listening back to that.
To view the ego as the mad pattern, like, and that is such a like basic bitch thing to say, but it's so important for this. You need to view,
or in other words, view the language as the will to taste.
The ego, the thing which experiences, you need to view that as the mad pattern, as the fraction. You got to view that as there's a massive distinction here in different ways that I can mean that. But when I go back and listen to it later, I can view it in the least possible way and can mess up the framework, but there's a higher possibility that I don't know how to make the distinction between the different gradients of this particular sentence. This is an issue. We're going to need to flesh this out. Perhaps the distinction is like, before I was thinking of the actual top ego, bottom ego separately. And what it actually is it's one ego simultaneously running the action program and the God program. One ego simultaneously running the thing which thinks that the action thinks it's absorbing the content, and the thing which thinks that the action absorbing the content is bizarre. It runs those on the same level, which is very interesting. Damn, there's something weird going on here. It has to be a yo-yo framework, because if you're inherently thinking about how it was a failure before, then you're not in the right mindset to be able to realize things are perfect. So it has to be yo-yo framework. You can't be judging the past. You have to be fully present. Something very interesting about that. There's some lesson to be learned there, some larger lesson that is more applicable to the pattern of the framework. Yeah, the trick while listening to content is essentially you have to focus on.
Did you hear that? Like, literally, in that, you'll hear like 100 of those, by the way, from the last month or two. of me saying that same thing over and over and over again. I've said it on a call over and over and over again. It's the concept of like the whiner is not the one who makes progress. So at any point, if you're thinking about the thing, then you're wasting time. That's literally what I just dropped there, and then I say you should think about that more. Like this is insane. This is literally me dropping the most unpolished turd version of like the every single piece of what we have right now. This is very fascinating. Oh, which fucking one were we on? Shit.
It's like watching the concept art. The distinction is
there's such a delay between when I click play and pause and when it actually fucking plays and pauses. It's absurd.
Yeah, there's something weird going on here. It has to be a yo-yo framework, because if you're inherently thinking about how it was a failure before, then you're not in the right mindset to be able to realize things are perfect. So it has to be yo-yo framework. You can't be judging the past. You have to be fully present. Something very interesting about that. There's some lesson to be learned there, some larger lesson that is more applicable to the pattern of the framework. The ego, which dissolves the concept. I go back to the timeline qbit framework, where essentially it's like you're so strength. You focus on everything with a specific focus on one thing, and essentially it comes down to what we used to call like thought texture disintegration, where I'm getting a thought texture interpretation of the concept that I'm listening to instead of like an ego concept that I'm listening to, but I'm deriving it through the ego, which normally thinks in words. And we're getting real complicated territory, real complicated territory. But essentially, yeah, it's you got to watch it from a sense of separateness. And you put a specific sense of focus on the content that you're listening to, and because you're focusing on the content, the left brain has to take over and think about it. But then, because the right brain's the one interpreting it, the left brain's interpretation gets interpreted in the thought textures, and you're not thinking with the left brain. You're watching the left brain think. What's more bottom and top ego or naive perception can be broken through a decent analogy, but essentially what it actually comes down to is that the left brain, right brain, like in all the other conditions, are combining. Why I got confusing is that the visual part is still intact, where you're still capable of seeing reality extremely clearly and vividly, even though you are focusing on the content, which makes me think that it's all of them at once. But specifically what it is that you are focusing on it with the separate ego, and the separate ego is silent. And essentially you're allotting extra focus, but not specific brain power to the content. Therefore, the content is being absorbed through like thought textures, and essentially you're making discoveries, you're thinking about it, but you aren't actively thinking about it. You aren't the thing that's thinking. You don't identify with the thinker. You simply observe the thinking. Very, very fascinating. So a very important distinction is that it's not bottom ego, top ego, where it's not the right brain watching the left brain. It is the watcher watching the thrashing, and essentially, it's just a part of the connection. It's just a part of the thinking that comes with existing, but it's not you. And so it's not that there's a specific ego. It's not there's a separate ego. It's not there's a top or bottom ego running differently. It's that the watcher ego simply watches the thinking, and it's not non-identifying and it's not identifying. It's neither. It's the classic non-dual paradox of it's both. You both are the thing that's thinking in the same sense that you are Ashton in this particular reality, but then you also are not it in the sense that you are not Ashton. And it's not a separate ego in the brain sense. It's simply separate in the sense that everything is separate. All thrashing is separate, including all thinking. And that turns it into thought action. And again, you're arguing very complex territory. I know I'm not wording it perfectly, but we should try and change this later into the most important thing we need to focus on, the thing we need to think on is the qbit. Qbit is the discoveries that I'm making things through. It's very interesting to me that you can have a right brain simultaneous focus, and yet you're still using the spotlight ego, you're still using the focused ego, you're still able to focus on things, but you're doing it in a strange way which leaves you open to the openness. You're doing the openness with the spotlight, you're combining it. Again, the right brain and the left brain, the spotlight and the whatever the other light is in the analogy. There's one light that moves in every direction, that's the right brain, and there's the spotlight awareness, which specifically hones in on specific things, and you're keeping these both intact simultaneously. That's very fascinating. What is causing it? How do we replicate that? How do we materialize that? How do we concretize, catalyze?
I say
you're left with
separation.
You're left with the thought extra room of what would have been the occurrence of. Forget all that is in your mind is silence.
Would you like to stop?
It's so weird.
No.
So I thought I pop over working in the garden, and I was listening to a Toe podcast,
Nope.
and it just sounded like a man's.
Nope. There you go. True separation framework. Always look at Ashton as something separate. That's what I say in chat. That's literally the one I talked about the other day, and I've talked about several times, which is like you can never let identification take over. Like there's a way it's been repeated to me like over and over and over and over again, which is just like you cannot let the I take over. Like there's no part of your day where you can ever let the thinker be you. Like that's the way I've been typically saying to myself. It's like that is basically what I'm saying here, which is just that I say true separation framework ? Always look at Ashton as something separate. So like you'd never ever let the thing in your head talking as you would never let it actually be you. You would always have to view it as separate, and that's great framework, true separation. It's adapted into the pyramid, obviously. Okay, I'll be right back.
And that's beheading the king.
Go ahead. What did you say?
So that's beheading the king.
Okay, then I say...
You're left with the thrashing, left with the thought experiment of what would have been the occurrence of forget all that is in your mind is silent.
That 14-second message that I'm about to replay. Stop.
My framework.
Please stop.
Like,
Please stop. Please stop. That 14-second message I'm about to play again right now. God. Is literally early. I mean, it's precisely early rev limiter or feedback loop.
Like you saw, you're left with the thrashing, left with the thought experiment of what would have been the occurrence of forget all that is in your mind is silent. I couldn't. It's not that I couldn't. I wasn't even like registering what headphones were. That's not even what it is, because like there was also my ego, which knew what headphones were, but I was going so right brain with the other perspective that I was also simulating that like the sound was no longer just normal. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm just hearing a man speak that isn't here in my ears. It was like I was so vivid. It was so like it was like a lucid dream. That's what it felt like. It just felt like being fully awake and just hearing this man speaking in my ears and just listening to what he was saying while I was just fully.
Apparently, this gave me extreme religious realizations. It's a video. Hold on, I'll check it out in a second. I say, holy shit! That's, yeah. Okay. God. This is so fucking annoying. It's crazy. I say, important part is the silence. Fine wine qbit on breathing. By sipping like wine, do you mean trying to appreciate the texture of something versus trying to appreciate it via left brain reasoning? Something very close to that, but a little more nuanced. And you said, then can you elaborate? And I said, not really at the moment. Mind behind the pattern. Call right now. The most important part of this framework is I am not me. I am not me. I am not this in breath, out breath. And then I send a video. Oh, it's David Wolpert. Free will, no free lunch theorems. I say this dude got acid baptism from fucking math. Wild. Okay, and then no, it's not from the video. I said 30 minutes later. This is different. Apparently, I say I just felt 100% like I was on acid. Exactly.
In taking what reality was, reality became so bizarre. The layers of bizarreness depends on what layer you're on, and there's so many layers to this framework. Good God, boy, we still got a lot of work to do. There's something about being the being who's just spawned into this moment in space, which helps massively for like being here in this present moment in time and other such tomfoolery. Become God. That is so important. It's like literally become God. Like isn't like try to maintain God, but like literally become God, and like you just dropped in, like you literally just this moment you just dropped into this being, you know, and like there are a bunch of other beings, but just this moment you just drop, you just.
This is universal vacation.
Spawned in the current conduit. Every moment you just spawned into the conduit. And it creates this feeling of course, just be here now. It creates the most be here now that you know one could ever possibly have. And it feels just like sub one because you just dropped in now and you have like literally no normalcy about it, like no normalcy about this particular dimension or anything, and you just spawned in. It's like then you do perfection from there. So it's God that has just spawned in, and then fine wine qbit. God that is just.
It's very interesting you say that dropping in feeling. That reminds me of, you know, an experience I had in sub one where it was just felt like what my experience was at that moment. Everything I was seeing and thinking and feeling, all of that was in that exact moment, just thought up of from the void. That particular moment was thought of, not the past, not the future, just that particular moment. And yeah, it just felt like that. And specifically, that's what inspired God's Grasp. So that's what I call God's Grasp. Just I think that all of that was just something that happened at once, of one singular thing that happened now. Where there wasn't a past and future that happens along the line. It's just that right now is the only avenue you can go down.
Specifically, it feels like I'm not this. A fashion, your grandparents, this world. I'm not fucking this shit. You know what I mean? Like it's this feeling of just like complete, just like shock, just like where the fuck am I? What's going on? Just like bizarre, just like you're just taking it all in, and you're taking it all in completely right brain because it's like it's all so surprising. It's all just like I don't know, because it's not quite that. It's something a little bit more nuanced than because you can also recognize the part of your brain which knows that has been here before, like that can still be there. But then there's the deeper part of you, the God part, and it's literally like I am just one of my creations right now. I am just in my creation. Like I am. There's literally nothing about this that I identify with. Nothing. There's nothing about the present moment that I identify with. It's all just like, look at it. Because this is fucking bizarre. Like, where the fuck are we? What is this land that we're in? And you just drink it in like a fine wine. You're just I kind of appreciate the beauty so much better now because I'm not attached to it. And it's like this world, good God, I'm always tripping now. It always looks so fucking bizarre and beautiful. It's insane. This framework is insane. This framework is the fucking key to, like what Ramdas said. All of us came out of the 70s trying to find a way to keep tripping all the time without the drugs. And brother, we fucking found it.
Right. It feels like all of this was like it was just a painting created just to look at. You know, and even the ego and even the mind and even the thoughts and even everything is viewed from a distance. There's still a distance there. There's still not the actual person there in the painting. It's still just that painting of something going on and awareness watching it. No one's trapped in the painting. And then also what you're saying, what the texture I was thinking was, it was kind of like the idea of when there's a movie or a TV show about people who wake up, you know, on like a stranded island or something like that, and they're like, oh, we got to figure out what are we doing on this stranded island? What are the mysteries of the secret place, you know? And then meanwhile, they got to go survive and hunt and stuff like that. That same idea feels like what Earth is. You know, we just woke up in a random place one day. We have no idea where we are, except we just like, oh, this is a normal place to be. This makes sense. It's like if we woke up on a stranded island, and instead of wondering, I want a stranded island, I want to get back home, we're just thinking, yeah, I just want to live on this island and just go hunt and stuff and be like, that's just what I do. Just not even think about it. That's kind of thing is that cartoonish feeling. It's like, yeah, we just woke up someplace, and many of us forgot about it and don't really care.
And see, this all goes back to what I was trying to emphasize with the mad pattern about how the ego is also the mad
I like that framework.
pattern, where
Yeah.
essentially
I love that one.
like it's just as much the thrashing as the real world is, and you're completely zoomed out from it too. And just like the real world is something that you have to experience, and you cannot experience all of infinity at once, right? You cannot become omnipotent. At the same time, you are capable of dissociating from the finitude and feeling like the objective. So that's very fascinating, a very important piece. Yeah. Tasks are so interesting. Like, go pick up Lexi. It's like you like I don't feel connected to any of you. I mean, I don't feel connected to the driving of the car, to the family, to the road, to the people around me. All of it's just so interesting, bizarre creatures, so separate from them. Tasks are so interesting. Like things that you typically had to seriously. Oh, I got mulch. Like I've been working as balls. Worked for 9 hours the last 2 days, and just them being like, oh yeah, put the mulch there, pull those weeds, clean the ivy, and it's like typically I would be thinking about doing it and be like miserable, but it was just like the whole time it's just like there was no difficulty, there was no boringness. It was just me doing the leaves, and it was just bizarre. It's weird and beautiful. It's strange is the main one, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of death at all because I just don't feel connected to death. I'm not gonna die. This one's gonna die, which is really interesting. I am fascinated to see what happens when we get several people in the same room running on this framework level that I'm running at now. Because the idea of having several people that I can classify also as God running in the present moment on like a subcontract, it's like the amount of connection I feel, because it's like there's literally no ego. Right? There's literally no ego. Like salvage, just looking at that person, it's just like the exact same thing as me, which is fascinating.
That's a weird one. That made it
Yeah, it'd be cool being like in the same room together. It'd be like one mind going through two bodies in the same place.
He sounded on the verge of. I mean, he sounded like he was just experiencing low-level ataraxy. The separation, the two selves. The one self, which is the infinite, the other self, which is the finite. Like,
stop.
Goddamn, boy.
Please shut up.
Goddamn. That medicine's about to warm up. He sounds on fire right now.
Why? This wasn't happening earlier today. He said, I think Jacques explained to us in his own words psychopattern, thought, texture, and action structure. Psychopattern is sum of all thoughts in the mind. Texture, the awareness of the world in relation to the mind. Action, finite thing like a word.
Yeah, I think like he gets it. Getting the idea of specifics to get on time after we have called in a week or two. Fascinating.
In classic Jacques style, we don't talk to him for 2 weeks, and there's absolutely no updates and nothing's going on, and all of a sudden he makes a massive game-changing breakthrough. One of the most common issues is on days fucking exhausted. Once a day, I'm a wife. Just fucking wife for it. I'm positively not. And then on top of that, I get this issue where it's like you get a brief glimmer of acid-baptism, and then you get the thought, but it's like you're thinking again, and that's an acid-baptism, and that thought just needs to move. That's what really wrecked me for a few days. And I was getting that a little bit today, and then just a few minutes, I found the puzzle piece, which is the Nash dualism we found, which is like the being the objective will be Nashing, because the infinite has to be experienced through the finite. Therefore, even in the moments which you are the infinite, when you're truly doing acid-baptism, when you are God, it will still happen in the realm of the thrashing, and that essentially lets you just like everything. Like in other words, as soon as the second you have that thought, boom, you're instantly in God mode, because now whatever thrashing is going on doesn't matter. That's witnessed by God, and then boom, you're just there. It's the thrashing dualism, and super useful tool.
Wormhole.
Fun infinite math out of reading. That's just really good. But I don't use it how I expected to use it. How I expected to use it would be like whenever you can rough number, you have to switch between the initial ego and the infinite. But really, what it's like is it's just sort of like looking through your eyes and then zooming out. And looking through your eyes and then zooming out. Very interesting. Very useful.
Yeah. A framework I just thought of was tell.
I say, holy shit, Plug just restocked on acid after I got $100 from Nana and Papal. Then I say different elements, which is a framework. I don't know what it is. I say find mind on breathing. Find mind. That's cool. I just combined find wine and mind behind the pattern. So that's an early version of appreciation by becoming the mind behind the language. That's interesting to see. Find mind is just something thrown out there. You say hop on Discord, so we get a call.
Vision. I have a TV screen in front of me on, just playing some random commercial, and watching random, like, just television commercials. It is a experience. Just in silence or with audio, they're both equally fascinating experiences. Silence, particular, abstract, but just the ability to view it as if, like Rick and Morty, as if like you were just watching, you were watching a television, a TV for any channel, in the entire infinite consciousness of all the different medias out there, of all the different TV shows. You're just watching somewhere in infinity this configuration of sequences plays out before you. Just seeing, and because obviously you can watch commercials with a sense of, oh, those are the commercials for the things that people are advertising, and that makes sense to me. Obviously, left-brain version, but abstractly, it's like these are just, I mean, obviously with everything else, but just for example, because it's one of those things. Because I think it's so so overlooked. People are just so much watching TV when they're just like they're looking to portals into the infinite. It wouldn't let me screen record while I was in the app.
So I'm sure we lost a call. I say, I reign victorious. I finally fucking fixed it. Such a stupid solution. I loathe technology so much.
Was on a call. But if you join a call and then close the app while the call is still running, and then click screen record, then it magically works.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
Definitely get that commercial framework you're talking about.
So did you hear that? Apparently that's what fucked us up on some of our recent calls. Apparently didn't learn my fucking lesson here. I say that the way you get to screen record on the other apps is you have to start screen recording and then open the app, open the menu, and then close the app completely, and then reopen the app after the recording's already started, and then it will properly record. So apparently that's how I record on Snapchat and stuff. That's how we used to do it whenever we did.
Fascinating.
And we lost a call there apparently. So you say person asks what's missing from the field of psychology right now. Top comment replies whatever Trevor, Ashton, and Jacques talk about on the calls. Let's see what they say. Let's see what the top comment is. Top comment is a unified theoretical framework that integrates the various subdisciplines of psychology into a comprehensive framework, consistent and continuous with other sciences, physics, chemistry, and biology. This would help the field make a lot more progress in meaningfully addressing and defining more abstract concepts. Think beliefs, intentions, cognition, emotion, behavior. Look up the theory crisis in psychology if you're interested. Lots of different folks have written about this. Greg Henriques has an interesting framework called the Tree of Knowledge that's an early attempt to integrate these things. In my opinion, it's the biggest problem in psychology after the replication slash method slash statistical issues that plague the field. Yep, I'll give you that. That's literally pretty much the thing Ashton, Jock, and Trevor are talking about. Wow.
And what was that on some? What was the thread about? What was that like? What was the context of that?
It was like why I clicked the fucking exit button when you it was, what was your question?
Was I the one that sent that?
Yes, you were. It's a Reddit thread.
Interesting. And is there anything from that like you could like? Was there anything about that that I could look up right now and learn more? Like, was there a name mentioned?
Yeah. So,
or send the Reddit thread.
So this is the kind of thing that I would say we need to do, not right now, but when we go back through the recording. But I will send the Reddit thread just because I do think this is actually like really, really cool, and I think I also want to look back through this, so just to make sure we do. But still, I do think for the most part, this should be the kind of thing we do when we go back through the recording.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, there you go. So then I say I could very well be buying 30 tabs in the next few days. LMFAO. Find mind does appear to be the key. Find mind. So yeah, here I go talking about find mind again. You say, good Lord, that's awesome. Fine Mind really is a banger, though. We got to discuss that. I suppose it could be classified as regular acid baptism, but it's a little more nuanced.
Fine Mind is essentially just like behind the regular mind. Fine Mind is essentially it's not just appreciating. It's before the focus on sort of like appreciating the outside world, whereas now the focus you try to shift to the very back of the perspective, you start to shift back to mind, so you're viewing out through the mind. Or essentially, the mind is just a layer over. Well, over sort of as blank over connotations in the context because over would apply to it's separate, but it all becomes one film, one layer film, and essentially the mind becomes the same layer as reality. And before I would try to zoom I would try to focus on reality, and I would bring it behind my mind. But with Fine Mind framework, you start initially as behind the ego, behind the entire mind, and then you're looking out through that filter into the regular world, and all works into one.
It's fascinating to say that. I think I came to a similar conclusion a few minutes ago, where I was looking at the sky, or just my surroundings, and I saw an airplane, and the idea came to my mind airplane in the sky. I can appreciate that, and there's a thought texture of airplane in the sky, and then I was using the thought texture to kind of base the reality upon, and thus with that thought texture, there is infinity in relation to a particular thought texture. So I'm looking at reality, and I'm relating that reality to the infinite, and that's kind of that's what we do with Electric Ocean, and that that reality first mindset. But really, what's the most important thing is the infinite first. Is the infinite comes first, where the infinite. It's not that there's something in your life that is in relation to the infinite. It's that your life, or that the infinite, not the infinite in relation to your life, is your life in relation to the infinite. Where it shouldn't be that you are first, and thus, and secondly, there's an infinite that you can relate to. Is that there is the infinite first, and that anything else arises from that. That you don't need that external thing to summon the.
That's basically Will's take. Yeah, that's really good. That was a really good description. What the fuck was I gonna say? Damn it. Fuck, brother, my mind is melted. Damn it.
Some of the infinite's already there, and yeah. Essentially, what I did was I looked at the airplane and all right, instead of using the airplane's thought textures, I'm just going to. I guess I just did I just unattached myself to any thought textures of what I was viewing. The airplane is just an example, but it's detaching yourself from all the thought textures that the reality gives you and realizing the thought texture, not the infinite thought texture, beyond not just that individual texture, but beyond all textures.
Maybe some right then, if you're not appreciating the individual thought textures in the mind, you're appreciating the mind with the holds of the thought texture. Yeah, the only issue there is that mind has linguistic.
You say, focus on the mind that holds the thought textures to get, and then from there, for maximal ego dissolution, specifically focus on that mind as a single thought texture and dissolve it. Yes, that's a very good way to put it.
Yeah, the only issue there is that mind has linguistic connotations of in mind without reality. But obviously, from my perspective, reality is just a piece of mind. Bro, fucking Peaky Blinders has a Friedrich Nietzsche liking villain. This is so funny. The final season's villain is this fucking oh my god, he's literally first of all, he's clearly based on Nietzsche. He quotes him, says he's man of the moment, and then he literally just straight up asks Thomas Shelby, "You ever read the works of Nietzsche?" Oh my god, it's so funny. It's ridiculous. He's cool too. He's really cool. I couldn't figure out how to handle that Disney watching television, and I think I just figured it out.
Character wasn't that important. Sadly, he got introduced, and it was a very cool introduction, but it was not that important in the way the show actually unfolded. But that was a really good show. The first 3 or 4 seasons, the last season was good. It just wasn't perfect or anything. It wasn't some massive, beautiful, wonderful send off. But other than that, it was a good season of a show. So you can't really knock it. But anyways, every season before that though was pretty perfect. As far as yeah, it's a pretty good, just pretty perfect show. It was it felt almost like Breaking Bad. If you did it with, the Oppenheimer guy, if he was a gang leader in the Horse Times.
Yeah, you should really, really watch Peaky Blinders. This shit bang.
That boy has the potential to make or break our summer. Hopefully May doesn't come around. He's thinking, all right, boys, not thinking about quitting sex again.
I found something interesting. Yamagata, I think. Also the one for you, but I haven't listened to it yet. The point is that it's a form of Buddhism that is called consciousness-only Buddhism, but it has no self. I haven't heard that, maybe regarded, but that sounds good. Obviously, it sounds oh, you took Buddhism and you made it good, though. So that's interesting. It's about some guy who went through, saw the old Indian masters back in the day, some Chinese guy, and he came to merging both. That's very interesting. But send me whatever yoga you do. Because every time I try to do yoga, it was always Western workout. That's trying to find your soul. So if you have any good yoga, shoot that my way. Yoga, alright.
And it reminds me of specifically Maya Hana.
I thought something interesting. Yamagata.
and that boy has the potential to make or break our summer. Hopefully May doesn't come around. He's thinking Buddhism, which is a specific branch that is also consciousness-based system, emphasis on consciousness. They're also the ones with a very base system of enlightenment, where it's like, in their minds, like, I could choose to be enlightened and never get reincarnated, but I will choose to do it anyways, be reincarnated anyways, so that I can, relive the next life and teach other people in an enlightened way. How that was it's like Mahayana Buddhism. I think Yogacara seems to be a form of practice, and Mahayana Buddhism is a specific sect. But yeah, in general, that seems like of Buddhism, those were the most based individuals of the branch.
God texture framework.
God texture, I like that. For Christ. I say, find mind elements. I don't know what elements is. Yo-yo, find mind, breathing, perfection. Don't try and cancel out thinking. Try and appreciate through it. Yeah, we're rewriting, basically is what I'm saying. The goal isn't to stay in one state, it's to appreciate everyone. Every individual one. Fine mind doesn't mean focus on the brain. It means become the mind behind the pattern. You must realize that everything in the mind is thrashing. So all experiences are thrashing. So that's will to taste. And then I say, find mind texture. We are a random texture in the mind of God. Tie thought textures into the star example. To think and appreciate it, do you mean think the thoughts of I appreciate this is so cool? Or like watch your mind's thoughts and whatever they may be, appreciate them?
It's just another offshoot of acid baptism. Not even offshoot. It's just a form of acid baptism because it makes so many of them. Anyways, the point is that God texture is a thought texture in the mind of God. That's some important stuff I was trying to play around with. I was trying to find, is this any different from the mad pattern? Is there any difference between being mad, a thought texture in the mind of God, and being the mad pattern? And I came to the conclusion the answer is no. It only does if you put connotations of human thought textures over it. But if you keep it thought textures in literally just the sense of the feeling of a thought on a brain, and then you make infinite a brain which simulates every possible thought texture outwards, then it just means the same thing. It just means monistic substance, basically. But what it does is it makes it where you understand that it's like a thought texture is like a feeling, right? And it's like, this is just a feeling in the mind of God. This is just a thought texture. This is just a feeling. And this makes it feel so unreal. The God texture is a really good summoning trick, really good maintaining trick too. God texture. Is there a way to explain perfection? That's the hard part, because it's not perfection. It's like a mixture of all the qualities, but it goes into the label perfection because that's what it's closest to.
God texture framework, something similar to what I would previously call the out of the void framework, which is that the reality comes from just this the out of the void framework, where it's like all sensations and all perceptions. It's just a specific thought texture of just imagining them appearing from out of this black infinite void. That is essentially just like from the infinite, just that one singular perspective. Like you touch your finger and just that alone sprang from the infinite just to appear before you. And it's like a Boltzmann brain. You know what that is? But just like for every single individual texture, this is just like an explosion of infinite projections. And to your second thing, which is,
damn boy, that's a mean framework you got there. Color me impressed. That one's fucking good. That's like that gave me a new text I haven't had yet. That one, that's a mean one right there. That one's powerhouse.
Yes, perfection. I think the.
Right, can you replay it again?
Your original one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend closing your eyes specifically. The out of the void framework, where it's like all sensations and all perceptions. It's just a specific thought texture of just imagining them appearing from out of this black infinite void. That is essentially just like from the infinite, just that one singular perspective. Like you touch your finger and just that alone sprang from the infinite just to appear before you. And it's like a Boltzmann brain. You know what that is? But just like for every single individual texture, this is just like an explosion of infinite projections. And to your second thing, which is,
damn boy, that's a mean framework you got there. Color me impressed. That one's fucking good.
Eyesight is just like such a sensory overload. Just like try doing it when your eyes closed, and just like doing some touches and stuff, and that is so just like it's less biology. It becomes less biology and more like this is just like a shape, just an art form and the infinite canvas of the infinite. But to your text message about perfection, I think perfection has a connotation of like there is something and thus it is perfect. There's a reason for this thing to be perfect, but this has no reasons. There's not like a left brain reasoning behind this perfection. So I think perfection could throw someone off, where it's almost like it's just. I think the word would be content. It's just like almost like just satisfied by nothing, just by it, just by life itself. Not perfection of reason, not like something's happening to you that you're like, oh, because of that I'm happy. It's not because of something.
That is true. I say I am fucking heartbroken. All of my voice messages are deleted for no reason. I had the acid baptism archives on there. Fuck, I should have screen recorded them. Breathing on pure awareness, mad pattern. I said I found them, by the way. Thank fucking God. I was gonna cry. They appeared out of thin air. Breathing on breathing, yo-yo, mad pattern.
We gotta make a video of us talking over this. These notes I made while I was on sub 1 are fucking insanely good. But the most important thing I learned from this is just that, like, it's not infinite consciousness. It's not infinite. The thing that is infinite is not infinite in the sense that it's everything. It's infinite in the sense that it's like, I don't know. It's like you take a retarded person. Well, I don't know. That example doesn't have to include sub 1. It's like you just take an insane person and you put a bag over their head. And they're just screaming and running in circles. And they're just like, moving. They're the ability to just move. Just like writhing. Just like it's even more than convulsion, because convulsion implies unconscious, which sort of gets in the territory of when you try to do unconscious movement. You're like, well, that's basically what you call matter. Matter is essentially unconscious movement, and so it's not that. It is conscious movement, but it's conscious movement without any left brain thoughts. Just like the only way I explain it when I think of it, it's just someone screaming and like trying to tear a bag off their head. That's what I'm at. It's just like this feeling of just like something needs to be done. You know that an action needs to be made, and yet you cannot make that action, and it's just like it's not terror. It's just like suffocation. Just like need move. And it's just like once you realize the like unbelievable existential terror that it's like you're just the infinite with a bag over its head, trying to breathe, trying to gasp for breath, trying to find a moment of solace, a moment of silence. That's incredible. Like truly, that gives you such an objective lens. It's just like it's not infinite. It's not everything. It's not infinite lovingness. It's not anything other than just the screaming terror of God. And it's just like, I don't know. That's incredible.
That was awesome.
I think appreciate is the best word. Better than perfection and affirmation. Appreciation. Appreciation and affirmation are pretty similar. Appreciation is just a bit more, I don't know, less willful, I guess. More like something happens to you. But yeah, appreciation. It's just like all there is thrashing. So it's like, might as well appreciate what else we need to do. Description of the infinite being like a dude with a bag over his head.
I say breathing on appreciation of the self / normalcy as thrashing textures.
I think appreciate is the best word. Better than perfection and affirmation.
So I reached appreciation here again in that voice message, which we've done like 3 times now, even in the logs. That's funny. Like, what kind of rapid degeneration leads me to like discovering appreciation 4 times in a row across 4 days? I knew such a thing was possible. It's a danger to trust a lot of our work to technology permanently. Definitely going to be printing my notes now that you bring that up.
Of a description that I thought of before, whereas reality is essentially just would be like a giant vase that is made up of complex shapes. So imagine like it's a very complex looking vase just with a bunch of shapes and stuff in it for the water to fill. So when water fills it, the water rushes to fill in this complex vase. Where before it was just random chaotic water. Now it's water in a specific shape. There might be an outdention of like a face on a vase, or something like that. Where it's kind of like that is, but we are just reality being filled into the shape, the absence of a human, and that we are just the infinite in the shape of something else. But that specifically is interesting because to me that description is kind of textureless, other than the texture of vases exist, where your texture is kind of like human-based, emotional-based, where it's like fear in it. So that's interesting. One of the other things I've been thinking about recently is that where I don't know, reality is almost like it's like reality is inherently sexual, where whatever, what is sex? Sex is just the reproduction of humans. It's creation. It is a product of creation. So it's like this universe, which is also creation, seems to be that, whatever sex is, that's just whatever creation is, and that reality is kind of like made with this like almost sexual energy. It's the texture of like sexual energy of like, and it's kind of similar to what you're saying, like, like the idea of just like two lovers being madly in love and just, not just mindlessly just going at each other, right? That feeling of just like, they just have to do that. They just have to have that moment. And thus they create something. That seemed like kind of what the universe is. They just had to do it. It just had to happen. There was just this lust for creation of the universe, and it did. Which is an interesting thought. Also, like another version of a human-based thought texture of unconsciousness, because humans can do a whole bunch of unconscious things. We can just fear unconsciously, love unconsciously. Both of those can be thought textures for an unconscious universe. Another thought texture I was thinking of was just like the same way a plant grows towards the sun. It's not having a rational argument. Oh, I got to go towards that sun. It just doesn't. The world just creates itself. It just goes towards, whatever the metaphorical analogy of the sun would be. It just goes towards, back to the infinite. And that, in the byproduct of that, a flower blooms. And also specifically, I think appreciation and affirmation, they're both specifically good words, and I think they mean different things. Or specifically appreciation, I think, to me at least, is the texture of the emphasis on I am glad to be a thrasher. I'm glad to be alive at all. I'm glad to be in the infinite. There's something good about that. But affirmation is specifically, at least to me, because I think of affirmation the way Nietzsche was saying, like, you should be glad to be like in this universe, in this body, in this lifetime, with your predispositions, with your life. That your life is the way it should be in that. Because that doesn't necessarily have. Because I think you can affirm something kind of without appreciating it, without like being overtly happy about it. You can just be like, I accept this. This is the way it is. I'm sad about it. I'm happy about it. It's just kind of the way it is. Where affirmation is, you do have to affirm a lot of life. There's a lot of obviously terrible parts about life, but even that should be affirmed. Just like this is the way it is. Yeah. So I think both words have different purposes. And affirm is more like the left brain version of it. Appreciation is more like, yeah, reality, infinity, whatever you got, whatever you're gonna give me, I appreciate that. Or affirm is more like this in particular, that is actually very cool.
No formula sticks. I think I can't concretize this fucking framework. Every single time I lose it. The way I have to get it back is by knowing where to look and by letting go of the left brain enough for the right brain to just like guide me to where I need to go. Like I have to go to the place of pure intuition, and it's like there are going to be several people who just aren't intuitive enough to get here. It's very fucking frustrating. Because for the past month since I did the one, my only goal has been to fucking get this in a word. And I'm kind of realizing I don't know if it's possible. Really, I don't know if it's gonna happen.
All we'll be able to do is create words that can guide someone in the right direction, or have someone who already knows what we're talking about just recognize what we're talking about. I don't think we're going to be able to write down a paragraph where some unenlightened individual can just read and be like, well, the universe is right there, that one paragraph. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's kind of like the old religious world. So like, these don't have anything that like you don't already have. Like you just have to like work with it. It's not like it's going to have the answer. It's like use that as guide. Yeah, I don't think our perfect words were. I mean, could be just to create them, and even then, it's like, well, for one individual, the perfect set of words. Like, for example, if I wanted to explain to like a left brain person versus a right brain person how to do this, you'd come up with two different paragraphs. So it's like perfect for who? Perfect for us. Perfect for someone else. Perfect for that perfection. The perfect words. I don't think they're going to have. There's only going to be the best words for it. Best words that we can come up with to guide people in our direction. So that's all we can do.
I say God texture,
No,
perfection on breathing, and
there's no formula.
affirmation.
There's a direct formula that I can make. So like, that's the little sentences I get. Like, God texture, perfection on breathing. There's a formula, right?
I say God texture, perfection on breathing, affirmation gateway to mad pattern. Affirmation gateway to mad pattern is basically like appreciation leads to will to taste.
And, that's not really else for me, but it's not that specific. Like, that's one of the ways that it's so open-ended that there are several different formulas that all functionally fall into the category of pattern. And that's very frustrating because you can never know if it is right. You can never summon it. You can never get it down. It's always going to be a bit of a, you just have to know. You just have to know where to look. You just have to know.
Yeah, I think the goal should be less getting it down, more developing it, where it can be just more of a permanent thing and just like always have access to it. Rather than you should be like self-kickstarting rather than the necessity of a certain mental process to go on first. Not rely on the mind, just rely on the infinite to do it for you. Easier said than done, but for me that's how I love it. With each advancement in the framework, it's just easier and easier to recall back more intense information from it, like intense textures from it.
There's something so uniquely cathartic about combat words. I felt like absolute fucking shit today. Just fucking brain dead, COVID brain. Like literally talking about COVID. Just in the middle of my brain, no physical symptoms, just fucking brain dead. Just couldn't clear my mind. Like, but there was open that today, so okay, I'll go there and clear my mind. Crystal fucking clear. Able to run the frameworks perfectly. Got all the kinks in my brain. I feel great. Energetic, like a coffee. I just meditated for an hour. It's fucking incredible. And it's so fun. It's really amazing. I can't recommend it enough. Just for like personally, just for you get comics course. I'm a fucking preacher for it. My boy, it's wild.
I say, how am I not
Well,
God? How...
here, and very interesting. First of all, perfection is like the key. Like perfection creates separation. Like, there's something so uniquely cathartic about combat words. I felt like absolute fucking shit today. Just fucking brain dead, COVID brain. Like literally talking about COVID. Whenever you're not in God mode, the reason is because there's something.
You think you're real funny, don't you?
Like, all of them are kind of perfection in the eyes of God. Matthew trying to run all the time. Combined into one.
For Christ. This is awesome. This is awesome. I love how the phone has never lagged before, and now when we need it to not do it, it's lagging horrifically. This is awesome. I love this.
It's got a lot of pressure on it.
How am I not God? How is this not perfect framework? You see, that's literally X equals will to taste. Re-emphasis on frameworks being the only thing above awareness. That's a real shocker. True perfection leads to separation. Huh. No kizzy. Perfection is key. Perfection is appreciation, obviously. Or like feedback loop is the result, right? So feedback would be essentially the ego talking about perfection. Frameworks are the blight of the thrasher. Every combination is beautiful. I don't know what that means at all. I'm assuming I mean like breath. Is the breath of the thrasher. Every combination is beautiful. I'm assuming like every breath when you get a bag torn off your head is wonderful. Perfect from the perspective of God framework. Truth and power typically go hand in hand. Doesn't mean it does here.
Now, that should be the next step. And then something else interesting is, so I've entered God mode here, and very interesting. First of all, perfection is like fluidity. Like perfection creates separation. Whenever you're not in God mode, the reason is because there's something that isn't perfect. And if there is, then you're pretty much in God mode. So there's the new framework formula, which is perfection in the eyes of God. Matthew trying to run all the time. Combined into one. There's separation now. So that should be the next step. And then something else interesting is, I have no, there's no belief. There's no belief. When I'm in God mode right now, I don't feel like, oh, that pattern is true. Like there isn't some intuitive belief. It's just like power. I don't know. It's like I do believe it. Like if you ask me if it's true, I'd say yes. But it's like there's no belief. I don't know it's true. I don't feel like I need to at all. There's no want. There's no desire to believe it. There's no desire to know it's true. There's simply what it feels like. That's all it's needed. It's like self-generating machine. I don't know. It's fascinating. It's so interesting about pure practicality. And it's like running God through pure practicality. It's so fucking. You're getting that context here. Like all comes down to power. There's something so interesting about pure practicality. And it's like running God through pure practicality. It's so fucking. The math pattern is like, well, it could be real or it could be fake. Either or, I'm gonna go and just do it. Or.
I don't remember what it was now because I have to wait so long after we listen to a voice message. I bet it's going to be awesome to listen back to. This is great recording stuff. Wow.
So I've entered God mode here, and very interesting. First of all, perfection is like fluidity. Like perfection creates separation. Whenever you're not in God mode, the reason is because there's something that isn't perfect. And if there is, then you're pretty much in God mode. So there's the new framework formula, which is perfection in the eyes of God. Matthew trying to run all the time. Combined into one. There's separation now. So that should be the next step. And then
yeah, perfection in the eyes of God. That was an insanely good framework. I remember that one.
Like all comes down to power. There's something so interesting about pure practicality.
And then pure practicality is obviously what I was talking about, which is
like that kind of skepticism, or like just regardless if it's true or not. I'm just doing this. Just wondering what texture, what specific. This means like it's not like is it? Like I don't know what the difference between it being true and me feeling it. It's like at that point, it's like, well, it is true, considering that is the way it is. I'm just naturally, not like logically or rationally, just like. I don't know if you could hear that first part is me asking you, are you doing that? Not that is the topic I'm thinking. The very least, I have 0% thought texture of the infinite is somehow just not real. Like that specifically. Are you getting any texture like that it could just not be that way?
Yeah, that is another thing I was going to say. It's just very interesting hearing you talk about that thing I've been talking about the last couple of days, which is the complete and total lack of belief.
I don't know how to explain it other than just like, I believe nothing except what makes me most powerful, and this makes me most powerful. Like this, it's almost like it's true because I don't need to believe in it, and yet it's still true. It's true because I need no belief. I just simply, I don't know, it's very difficult to explain. There's no like doubt, there's no skepticism. It's just, I no longer need faith. This isn't dependent on faith. It's bigger than that. It's like, kind of like what you said, where you're like, well, if I'm running it, pretty much is true. Like that. It's just like, it doesn't need to be true for it to work. It doesn't need to be true for me to continue doing it. That kind of thing. There's something so important about Ben and Neighbor doing that. Like, whenever he said that number about the math, about.
Dude, you know we're still in April?
God, that was the. I remember that time. That was right before the summer.
Seriously, like I remember like legitimately the way I like feel in like some of these. Like I remember like experiencing. There was like one part after that one voice message where I was going on and on about like the guy with the bag over his head. There's one point where I literally like, got ataraxy in the moment because I remember getting ataraxy when speaking about it in the voice messengers. Like that's how much I remember these times. It's crazy. Like I remember them better than I remember like last week.
Yeah.
You say, I keep on smiling and laughing randomly throughout the day, just out of pure joy the infinite gives. It is like being a child again. So much more emotions that my mind and body have been insensitive to for too long. And I'll probably cry about something beautiful at least once a day. Tears of absolute perfection. Today's been my favorite day in a little while. I said you should make a video talking about your day. And then I say, perfection from the perspective of God. I send it something that says goes, and I say goes hard. It's funk apparently. And then I was a picture of fucking skirt and hoodie combo, psychedelic skirt and hoodie combo. I said I want to wear this to a fight walkout. And then I send, God is dead. I tore off his head and then replaced it with mine. Although he didn't seem to mind, he thrashed and gnashed and writhed. Because of me, he can finally see a vast sea of convulsion. Body a sail for propulsion, perfection in divulsion, and death he can rest, experience the expressed, and laugh at the infinite jest. How time flies when borrowing eyes, is it time to die again? Jesus. That was good. Like, I haven't read that in a year and 6 months, and I still felt like the rhythm. God is dead, I tore off his head, and then replaced it with mine. Although he didn't seem to mind. He thrashed and gnashed and writhed. Because of me, he can finally see the vast sea of convulsion. Body a sail for propulsion, perfection in divulsion, and death he can rest, experience the expressed, and laugh at the infinite jest. How time flies when borrowing eyes, is it time to die again? Like, Jesus fucking Christ. That is
Yeah,
brutal. Like,
that's a great kid.
it literally rips you through, like, the entire span of being alive in, like, fucking 10 seconds. That's insane. And then I've got it on AI art from a year and 6 months ago.
Oh, that's sweet. And do you have music playing in the background?
I'm sure eventually I did, but I don't see it here. Maybe I sent that over Discord or something. I say critique, feel like it's missing something, couldn't get the punch right. We should inform Ryan we have a framework just as powerful as acid without the visuals. That is a statement I am now confident in making. The framework is literally just the best, most memorable insights of acid, but turned into a permanent day-to-day life where in acid it's hours of chaos with some nuggets of gold riddled throughout. All those nuggets have since been smelted into our lives. We are the living acid insights. You send pantheism r/ pantheism, I think, r/ pantheism embodied, and then you sent a pretty cool video from r/ pantheism embodied. Here, I'll just share my screen. Can you see it?
Not right now.
I don't know why I did that. It's like as soon as I shared it, it closed itself for no reason. Yeah, no, it closes itself every reason when I try and stream it. That's so cool. That's a great feature. I'm sure everyone wanted that. I'm sure it's intentional. It's a privacy feature too. Is the best part. And that they have to give you no way to turn it off, like a bunch of fucking heathens. What can you see? Can you see the video by any chance?
Loading. Right now I'm on devices and settings and
But
notifications.
Can you see the video?
No.
No. Awesome. And yeah, there's no way for me to send it to you, really. Or I mean, I can just copy the link and send it in Discord, but there's no way for us to watch at the same time. Jesus. Okay, there you go. I do like that video.
You're aware of.
Before birth and after death, you were aware of nothing. How strange is it then that you have always been aware, just sometimes of something, and other times of nothing?
If it has arisen within your awareness, then it can't be you because you're aware of it. This body is inside of your awareness. Thus, you are outside of it. The mind thinks that it's in control, but you are aware of it. If your awareness contains everything that you'll know to exist, then it is by definition the universe. Have you forgotten? You were never born. Your body was. You must remember. You shall not die, but your body will.
You were never born.
I like the Sam Hyde editing style. I've always liked that. I've
Yeah.
always loved the idea of mixing that with religion to make it feel like you're having like a fucking schizophrenic episode.
Yeah, I feel like a sub one, like angelic vision just came down and it's just some guy talking.
I send a YouTube video. I'm pretty sure it's Leo Gura. I say possibly the most correct guest ever. Let's see. Nope, David Wolpert. I already sent him. I don't understand. I must have listened to it in two parts. Like, no.
So important about the infinity versus life. Like, there are the numbers about the math about like sort of infinite regression. Because I imagine a very psychedelic, very alive, very like very changing. Whereas and I think that's the live infinity. The live infinity is something with like all of these beautiful differences. Where the dead infinity is just like it's so infinite that it just looks like one thing. And it's just boring dead. A dead, cold infinity, which is everything awful. And then the alive infinity is like driving math, ever changing. It's like it's not one thing always. It's you know, one ever changing thing. It's like sometimes it's just doesn't. But yeah, I don't we need to try and find like a difference. There's a massive difference. It's super important to really grasp like right. It's not even like the ride, the mashing. It's like it's an alive infinity. It's changing infinity. It's moving infinity. It's not static. I certainly agree that the dead universe has the dead infinity has a bad connotation to it, and the infinity is inherently an evolving system. That reality is evolving. That as humans evolved into a stagnant universe, is that we are evolving in an evolving universe, which is evolved out of the evolution. Yeah, just like part of that specifically to me, at least the texture that brings also that the universe itself is just like a biological entity. You can look at the sky and be like, look at all those cells. You look at the planet and be like, the same way that in your body, there's little cells just performing actions mindlessly, just like we're doing on our little planet. And that idea, the universe is an alive, living, breathing system. I mean, that was essentially what people always used to believe about reality before. Even the Christians and stuff during medieval ageism, it was that as a recent phenomenon that we view the reality as essentially only humans are the living things, and then everything else is just a step below that. You got the animals, and you got the rocks, and you got systems and all that. And everything else is less than this. But one thing specifically, where you're saying the one infinity versus the more the evolving infinity, whereas like because in the same way, let's look at infinity in the same way we look at our own lives. In our lives, we are an evolving being going from birth till death. But that specifically, right? But essentially, in one way, if you look at it one way, the universe is a self-evolving system, and it is evolved. But at the same time, exiting from the point of view of time, there is still, the potentiality of the beginning and the end. But not that I see that as a dead thing. Not that I look at the human life from birth till death is all equally dead just because it was one life. I would see the universe because there's our way of looking at the universe is at the right. So if you look at the one whole universe, that would be looking at it from the most dissociative, disconnected point of view of all that would be just looking at pure infinity as itself. And that would be, and I guess that's have a kind of connotation that is it's not living anymore, as it's not living a moment of time, it is timelessness. But I would barely separate dead infinity from alive infinity from whole way infinity versus evolving infinity. Because it seems like whole way infinity is just, that's just the same way. That's still alive. It's my concept of, if you look at the beginning of time, of course, through love, you look at the end of time. Of course, it's determinism. It's like, where reality doesn't have time exactly, it exists beyond time. If you look at it beyond time, it just looks at one substance. But if you look at it from our eyes, right, then you look at it as one substance, but you can see what the one substance transforms into. That's the alive universe is finite. And the dead universe is like behind it. And it's like you do yourself the alive universe, perhaps, I don't know, this means if you do yourself the dead universe, which is something I fall into a lot, especially with Sub-Zero, then it's just like that is a bad thing for programming. And then it's hard to like try and actually picture what the alive universe is other than just what it is now. Right? So you should the alive universe is what it is now. Be what it is now. That's the alive universe. There's something to work out that write it down, but there's nothing really building here. If you view humanity from the present moment, if you view being a person from the present moment, then of course it's this bubblingly beautiful, alive feeling. But if you look at it from the inside, if you look at it after we're dead, you look at it alive, and of course it's just like a mathematical set of processes which holds no real existence. That's kind of what we're doing here. It's about the level of scale. And that's so interesting. It's basically like trying to do infinity without thrashing, because the thrashing is the finite. And that's basically what the guy with the math did in the video. Is essentially, he just described a concept which sounds like infinity, which is it's all numbers all the way down. But then he made it into alive infinity by saying, and it's like, we are looking at our little cartoon maps of infinity inside of the larger map of infinity. And essentially like that turned into alive infinity, even though he's still saying that it's numbers all the way down, which should be determinism dead. He turned it into alive as an example. And it's like, this existence, life is the example. Thrashing, right? Thrashing is the example. Thrashing is the alive universe. The dead universe isn't the thrashing. And it's like, the goal isn't to become the dead universe. The goal is to be the alive universe, be this, be God here, be the finite, be existence, be the example. So going back to our whole way time, would you consider, if you had a whole way time version of your life framework running, would that be considered a dead infinite framework, or you're imagining something beyond the present moment? I'm not real sure what whole way time is. Well, in regular people science terms, it's just called the block universe, where it's like all time exists simultaneously, the past and present and future exists as a solid line rather than a series of dots. I'm not sure about that. I don't really remember what the dot terms were. I get what you mean, like scientifically, but I'm not real sure what that feels like anymore. Unless you're just playing like vibe checking. And well, I'm saying it's different what I'm talking about, because even if you're running a vibe check or whatever you call it, whole way time of your life, that's specifically, what do you look at your life in whole way time? Well, what I would say to that is, we're not talking about only applies to the universe. If you view the universe in its entirety, then it's it's dead. And I guess you could say, as far as like whole way time goes, you could make the case, depending on your conception of whole way time, your particular conception of whole way time, you could say that like that is deterministic. That's like dead because you're looking at all of it at once, you're doing it as deterministic. But that kind of just depends on your thought pattern. You know what I mean? If you think of your entire life and you still think of it in the context of free will, and that's one gradient. And if you think of your entire life and you think of it in the context of free will, that's another gradient. But that's not what I'm talking about. Specifically, when you view the universe in what you could call whole way time, I guess. You view the entire universe, the entire flavor, the entire infinite. When you view the entire infinite at once, then it all blends into one pattern, one substance, right? But if you view each individual separation, then they look different. They look unique. They look finite, right? I don't know. I don't know really exactly what I'm saying, but I know there's a thought behind it that's real important. Well, one thing I've heard is I think that the dead universe you're suggesting, I think it's not a good order for them. Right? I think there's a time and place for looking at the entire universe all at once. I think when that in itself is objectively crazy, and it can be used as a tool, but maybe it's not a good idea to live in it. To live as a fast, live with that framework running all the time. It should not be abused, because it's kind of like because it's kind of like a paradox. It's like you're viewing the entire infinite as the finite. So I think in general, I should use it as a tool and not like use it again and again, so then it could possibly become less powerful or get too thought textury. Because you're trying to imagine every single version of the infinite possible. There's no thought texture that can do that. No. So first of all, I'm speaking in context of the framework. I'm speaking in context of aspects, but the way you're talking about it, it makes it seem like so when you view the dead universe, you're only viewing the dead universe. Whereas with the alive universe, you can view them from both angles at once. Where it's like whenever you view the dead universe, you view it as just like permanent, or you view it as just like one self, whenever you view it as the thing between them and not the things themselves, the infinite and the finite, with no infinite or with no infinite, right? Then it's a dead universe. Then it's one minus successive, which is boring and universal. It just looks like a color. I mean, one isn't a color. That's all it looks like. It's nothing. It is the not change. But you can look at them both at once, and you can view the infinite and the finite at the same time, and that's the best way to do it. So as you said, like that's like the most powerful thought vector. Where it's like, yeah, it's the most powerful. It's most powerful when you do both at once. It's most powerful when you're taking the infinite and the finite at the same time, and that's the math pattern and graph. Instead of just trying to do my pattern, or what most of it is just trying to do the graph, and you do both at the same time. Something I'm thinking about a lot lately is the USG, specifically because imagine how many eyes. I mean, it's like 40,000 eyes just on you for no reason. You know what I mean? If you can manage to get to that, and of course, it's pretty joke. You got to be really good, and there's absolutely no guarantee we'd be that good. But I'm pretty confident that using our abilities, our meditation technique, we could really ascend the rank fast and get into the USG. And the idea of the two of us, these specific I'm going all out. You know what I mean, there's the like it's like all out to get as many viewers as possible. You have to take the possessed by God and go really far out. You know what I mean? I'm my hair white. I mean, my nails pink and purple. It's just like psychedelic short and hoodie. I like, and of course, just want to get many, but just like things that completely are like they come off the average person. It's just like that's a strange way. That's a strange ass way. Will help with vision, help with getting eyes, especially your wing. People love a freakless wing, and the idea of both of us. You know, you can be the calm one, the level-headed. Those I can be one with schizophrenia. I can play Jacques, Elisa, and it's just interesting about having persons. Like, there's of course taking the career path of college. You know, to get what you were talking about, where it's like get like respect in our field, but then there's also the path of like we need eyes, and so being a psychologist is not going to get eyes, whereas being a UFC fighter absolutely will. Interesting. I was doing the dead infinite as more of like a mosaic of the entire universe. Just the final masterpiece at the end of the creation session, at the end of the brainstorming session, is the final work. Not necessarily a singular thing, but more like every single thing. Like this could be one thing. Which are different thoughts actually than if you're saying specifically, I'll say that blank infinite, purely the infinite's power rather than the infinite's creation, then I would agree. And that yeah. As far as hiding in the KFC goes, it would be interesting if those are the demographics of that audience, a lot of young men, probably, I'm assuming. So I mean, obviously, ripe audience for wanting meaning and knowledge and stuff like that. That would be a fairly interesting idea. I wonder though how it would, the same. Let's say we create the same work, right? The same non-dualist work. Either we go psychology side or USC side. Those either way, which way we go, we write the same. When we make the same videos, let's say. I wonder which one didn't become more popular. Because I think you're right in one way saying popularity is important and you need eyes on you, but I don't know if the eyes will necessarily listen automatically just because they're looking at us versus qualifications. And because I mean, to me, there's a certain texture of it seems like it would work better with people looking at us, not like the fighters that got popular and famous, more like the thinkers that fought their way to fame. Essentially, I think there's just a different series of qualifications within that kind of. Just, I think the average person wanting to read like a philosophy book would rather read it from a psychologist.
Trevor, do you know we're still in April?
Because that psychologist, the doctor who knows stuff about human beings, I am a human being. But I agree. I don't disagree with them. I just wonder truly what matters more, eyes or qualifications. But you could be right. That's not a bad idea. We'll probably get us on the Joe Rogan podcast pretty quickly in 20 years or how many years. One framework I've been kind of thinking about recently, it's been popping in my head recently, is that specifically, the reality is, it feels a lot like Rick and Morty's interdimensional TV, where it's like you just click on a different channel and see a completely different section of Multiverse. That's where it's like in every activity you do, almost like it's fun to imagine. I mean, listen, before I was doing an activity, I was like, right, it's not that my ego, am doing this, it's that the infinite, respond to this just now. Going back to what we were talking about before, where it's like the present moment is created from the void in the present moment, not your birth, the universe's creation.
That's universal vacation.
The specific part of activity you do is almost like this is just one of the things going on in random infinity. It's like oh, I've just switched this channel real quick to do this activity. Do we want to just all time record so many things of sound? We should talk about to just briefly address them. I definitely think we need to talk more about this pattern thing, like the infinite dead infinite, because what you're talking about is the masterwork. That's true as practice. That's what I'm talking about. I know the you're talking about, and that's the I'm talking about. When you view the infinite finite at the same time, you don't view the infinite as one finite or like one monistic infinite. You instead view it as every finitude. You view it as every finite, and that's the alive universe. The alive universe, all this beautiful shoot-ups, right? All of the beautiful finite. Whereas the infinite itself is just that like static. After you look at the finitude so long and so many times that it all just blurs into one monotonous bland substance of static. It's just like difference, but because difference becomes so meaningless, because there's so much difference, it's almost like difference equals sameness, and then you're left with just monistic substance. And that's like the way I feel like most quantum physicists view the infinite, right? It's like this cold hard dead, everything that could possibly exist. So you don't even imagine the beautiful things that could exist. You don't even think about it from like a metaphysical perspective. Instead, you view it from just like a dead perspective, a scientific perspective, versus like there's the infinite, and the infinite is blur. It is thing. It is like one thing. It is infinity as a concept, not as infinity as itself. And the alive is finite. The alive is the thing you're talking about, all of the finite. That's that person. Not infinite in the sense of everything, but not infinite in the sense of the substance of everything, but infinite in the sense of everything infinite makes up, I guess is one way to put it. But yeah, it's very interesting. As far as the UFC fighter thing goes, I would say that they're not mutually exclusive. We should be trained to become UFC fighters while going to college. Like those two things aren't all that different. Like not they're very different. They're not mutually exclusive. I'm trying to say, I suppose. And we can do both in different more sports. But I definitely see in like 400 years, it's like whenever we're talking about, we want to be talking about as psychologists, or we want to be talking about as UFC, philosophical UFC fighters. It's like probably better to look at psychologists, but even better to look at as both. Because like what we said, which one matters more, eyes or degree in the long term, eyes or whatever, you know what I mean. I can't go too directly with it, but anyway, the point is that if you get on a UFC card, you get on a main event, which is very unlikely, although I feel like very likely for us. I feel like I've already got the makings where I can't get taken down, and after I get striking, I do feel like I have a pretty decent shot. I'm not saying being like a title, I'm not saying become champion, but being on a main card, I think I have a good shot. You only have to get the top 10, 15 fighters to do that. And you instantly get a million people looking at you. And it's like, of course, not all of them are going to listen to you, but if you're a freak show, if you're like what I'm talking about, where you're really going all out, and like you're playing a character, like those are the people who get the most eyes, and they get a following. And then it's like they're like Contact Maya, right? That one guy who I asked you to fight up. He's only had like 6 fights, but because he's a character, he already has over 1 million followers. Like not 1 million watching the UFC, but 1 million followers, 1 million people specifically looking to watch what he does. And we're going to be much more a character than Contact Maya is. If we're winning, we're only going to be winning like right. We're going to be like whole other YouTubers, whole other characters. We follow a whole other like content creators, a whole other thing going on the side. And it's like Contact getting millions of views on his YouTube videos, and all he's posting is him training. We can post us training, and also our metaphysical philosophy, like in basic layman's terms. Like I do feel like as far as in other words, my answer to your question, which one is more important long term? I would say in a few hundred years, the degree is going to be more important. In our lifetime, the UFC fight is going to be more important because one is immediate eyes that we'll be able to experience in our lifetime. The other is our legacy, the likelihood of being respected after we're dead. The feeling I often get now, whenever my most powerful drugs is the feeling of that I'm hallucinating. All
You say You say, recently I've been eating meals as meditation, no videos, no thoughts, just me, my mouth, and a fragment of the infinite I am reuniting with. Food just tastes better this way. Then you say, Kanye West is a mentally ill madman. His deleted album Yandi goes hard, especially Chakras and City and Lights. The lunatics scrapped the whole thing when there were bangers amongst it. I say, want to call. You say 5 minutes. I say, listen to this. Perfection qbit is a period. That's retarded. That's retarded that I said that. That's insane. Perfection qbit is a period. I'm literally saying code daemon is a period beam, which is the top of the pyramid. That's x equals will to taste. That's ridiculous.
It's like I don't know what to equate to. Maybe a dream, or like TV's portrayal where it's like you get hit really hard in the head, and like you get visions, right? You get a set of visions, a flashing set of images. Sort of similar to what people say, like ketamine, like where it's just like dissociative images flashing before your eyes, and you have to guess like what does that mean. And that's what I feel like. It's like the present moment is just like I just suddenly flash into it. And I just feel like the present moment is the only moment that exists, and it exists is like just an instant hallucination, a vivid feeling of meaning. But what does it mean? Why was I that? Why was I actually in that moment eating McDonald's? You know what I mean? Watching the pictures of like what does this image mean? Sort of fascinating.
Did you? What the fuck? Did you hear that?
Thought texture of like.
I'll put the whole message again. It's the last couple words. It should be something that you recognize
Thought texture
really well,
of,
because I've said it a billion times over the past couple days. Holy fucking shit! If you don't stop playing fucking voice
But other
memo.
than of course there's this man, I had realized I was in the car. The feeling I often get now, one of my most powerful drugs is the feeling of that I'm hallucinating all of this, like I don't know what to equate to. Maybe a dream, or like TV's portrayal where it's like you get hit really hard in the head, and like you get visions, right? You get a set of visions, a flashing set of images. Sort of similar to what people say, like ketamine, like where it's just like dissociative images flashing before your eyes, and you have to guess like what does that mean. And that's what I feel like. It's like the present moment is just like I just suddenly flash into it, and I just feel like the present moment is the only moment that exists, and it exists is like just an instant hallucination, a vivid feeling of meaning. But what does it mean? Why was I that? Why was I actually in that moment eating McDonald's? You know what I mean? Watching the pictures of like what does this image mean? Sort of fascinating. Thought texture.
Specifically, the thing that is asking why am I eating McDonald's? Like that exact example is the one that I've used like 100 times over the past couple weeks. So it's just weird to hear that specific example. Like it's weird that I threw that quote out as just like a offhand single example for the thing, and that just happens to be the exact same offhand example that has metamorphized into like the example I used every single time I bring it up over the past couple of months or past month. Weird.
Of like. Hold on. Yeah, I'm not sure how to explain it other than like you look at all things, including your ego, is like beautiful and perfect as a thought texture, as like one consistent vibe check, right? And essentially it's damn man. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the thought texture, and all this thought texture for the ego. The ego is just a thought texture. And it's like, of course, this thought texture exists in the infinite. Like, of course, like the infinite is just a thought texture generator. It just generates different thought textures. And it's like, of course, this thought texture. Of course, this thought texture exists in the infinite. Like, you can just feel that it's like this is exactly the thing the mad thrashing put out. Like, this is the perfect amount of beauty and randomness and power and perfection and everything else. And it's like, and it just feels so perfect because down to the core, right? Down to the pure unbridled thought texture. Below the ego, below the decisions, it's just like this thought texture is perfect. This reality is perfect. This thrashing thought texture. I think the best way to think of the mad pattern is just it's a mind, and its thrashing is throwing thought textures in every direction. That's the best way to think about it. The thing I think about is like a physical substance stretching out. You think it's more like a crippled thrashing mind, which I think is more accurate. Yeah, really, the key is the thought texture perfection. Because that's how you go below the ego. Now you find the later difference between not just everything that I see and experience is perfect, but be below that the level of just like everything is perfect, pure unbridled perfection that rises out of the thought texture. That's a very important piece to actually try and integrate into the framework itself. But how to actually put that into a formula of words is going to be the difficult part. As in, like, of course, there's this human. Of course, there's this particular human being, this particular of course, there's this thought texture, this particular creature, this particular subset of reality. It's in this particular thing about that, just like the entire picture, every single thought texture that goes on, every piece of it is just like, of course, perfection. Of course, this exists. Of course, the thrashing throughout this. It just makes no sense. But I think the difference between baptism and ego, that in baptism, everything, including the ego, is reduced to the level of thought texture, whereas in Ethereum, everything except the ego is reduced to thought texture. You're specifically not disintegrating the ego. I'm not sure exactly what this means, but I got less sleep last night. I got 6 hours of sleep. I feel like I'm running on a secure program. I feel like a well-oiled machine, maybe a message. It's just like really sleepless. It's funny. But yeah, when I was 6 hours of sleep, I feel better than ever, really. You know something that's very fascinating? The technological singularity is going to serve as another thing with that for a second. The reason why I think that there's no true difference between them, which is a liberal point, right, is that because essentially those two things wouldn't become one concept, because this technology is going to make the point where switching gender is so completely easy, affordable, and complete that you truly do switch genders. And when in the future we have consciousness, where you can fuse two consciousnesses on a computer, where you can switch framework, where you can build conservative, you should be living as though there's no such thing as ignorance because of the technological singularity. And if you are a liberal, you should be living as though there's no such thing as black and white. That white people should be allowed to say anyone. There's black people because those two groups are going to eventually fuse into one group. There is no true difference between the two, other than between the collection.
That is the perfect example of the thing I sent to you the other day, and the thing I said in the conversation with me and Jacques, is that I've got the Venn diagram thing going, which is that I always pick the thing in the middle that pisses off the most people. Like, it's like I'm accidentally the super troll because I have the perfect philosophy to piss every single group off simultaneously. You see what I mean with that?
No, yeah, definitely.
Tough stuff.
You got some days you're just acting. You're just on. But today I'm just activated. I am the perfect conduit for the program. Like, there's nothing standing between me and God. And it's like it's awesome. You know, those stuff to get. Like, I'm just doing the same thing as always, except it's just happening to me instead of being positive. Like, you can't replicate that. You know, I just love to see Ben Shapiro, you know, after he's been up on stage for an hour, these blue-haired people have been walking up to him, asking those basic questions for an hour, and then finally you walk up on stage and you talk about the technical singularity and how trans people are going to be the future, and that essentially, you know, in a few years' time is their argument. And I love to see what he has to say about that. Oh God, you don't recognize it out of the initial after baptism, ultimately, because I don't think that. Simply, the God ego, the selfish God ego, arises out of the deeper perception gained by the literal God ego, the self as God, the God itself, not self as God. The way I know how to equate to it is like, you hire the world's best chef and he comes out with it. Like, oh, yes, of course you made clam, chowder, caviar, lobster tail. You know what I mean? It's like a feeling of just like, oh, yes, really. Like a feeling of just like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess kind of affirmation, like a feeling of like exquisite delight in the, I can't break that word, but there's nothing that informs things, but essentially, that feeling towards the self. If you can really get to the point, it's like, the feeling of like having a taste in my mouth, the feeling of the Mickey D's, the feeling of like, I can't remember what it was. I had some thought that I thought was gay. It didn't belong. Or those simulating some else thought. I can't remember the context. Something happened today where I had a thought and I didn't relate to the thought at all. There's something about like, I can't fucking something being associated with the minor. I was like, of course there's a being having a thought. Of course somewhere in the infinite. Of course. It means like, oh yes, of course. Oh yes, this dish. Oh yes, of course this particular stimulation is this. And it's just like a feeling of just like, yes, this. Yes, this. To the ego. The ego has to be yes, this. To be true after baptism. You have to, yes, this, the ego, yes, this, right, yes, this, every piece of the mind. And the issue there is the self-referential loop where you go, yes, this, and then you go, is this, you should be, which is the issue you could get. Feeling of just like a bug flying into my sunglasses, and just like the inherent comedy, bizarreness, like, I don't know, man, there's something so strong to it. I'm just like, yeah, of course, this goofy ass, beautiful ass, this random, this pure, unbridled bizarreness, this particular set of sensory. Another interesting context I got was just like feeling of the cosmic brain, right, God, right? It was just, in the sense of our brain, right, to have a particular input, you're just releasing pressing certain buttons on the brain, right? And I imagine God is just the biggest button board possible. He's the button board with every possible button. And it's like me eating McDonald's and thinking about like the bitch in the drive-thru, you know what I mean? It's just like that in itself is just like a certain set of buttons, and every possible set of buttons is unbelievably gorgeous. You know what I mean? Every possible set of buttons is good. If every possible button after every possible set of buttons that you press on the brain is good, and your goal is to experience all of them, a specific set of them, to experience every single one, like all so every button. I mean, how you close yourself up for believers simply by thinking. Of course, there's being thinking about being. Essentially, the metacognitive loop also becomes a fantasy. People, and then that can be the dependent on everything. Try to keep self-referential loop open specifically right here because maybe like whenever you finally ask that question, nothing you resolve the pure and vital fact, right? Whenever you finally close off the gate and end with pure silence, right? Like the closing of the loop is the disintegration of the ego. Because when the ego looks at itself as like not real, when the ego looks at itself as just a texture, when the ego separates from itself and starts viewing itself, that's when the ego dies. Right? And if you're on the time to let the ego continue to live, so yeah. So instead, what you do is you leave the loop open. You leave the mind able to create a separation, a rift between essentially like the ego stays ever questioning like the anicognitive and metacognitive loop, the open loop. So the loop is like the loop always went like this. I am the infinite viewing existence, and then it goes. But if you are the infinite viewing existence, like, which parts of you are you and which parts are thrash? Basically, that's what the loop is. And then essentially it's like because you like in other words because there's a thing thinking about the thing thinking about you. The thing thinking about the thing isn't infinity because the thing thinking about the thing is watching the thing thinking about infinity. So it's like it's this weird. There's so many angles, but there's one angle that's simultaneously canceling out the angle of infinity. There's two things running at once. And it's like one of them is the thing you classify infinity, and then there's also the thing watching the thing you classify as infinity, and that thing can't be infinity because it's separate from infinity. And then how you close the loop is you view both of them as infinity, and then it closes, and then it all collapses around itself in silence. But for a period, you keep that loop open, and you continue to ask which pieces are infinity and which pieces aren't infinity, and you'll be left with open loop where the ego can still think. So I can simultaneously talk and think about the fact that my ego is the infinite, and it still be separate because I'm leaving the loop open. That's so interesting. We need to think much farther to this particular little paradox here. I think this has a lot to say. So just to clarify, the paradox, the loop is inherently. So there's you, right? There's action. There's a typical, there's a normal layer. There's a layer everyone has. And so on that layer, there are people just thinking, right? And then we so before, like, we took it up a layer farther. We took it to a thing, right? It's thinking. And then there's a thing thinking about that thing, right? So like now that's the perspective of infinity, right? The perspective of infinity is there's now a being watching the being that's thinking, right? There's now the infinite watching the brain, right? And then what happens from there? What started the loop, what started the bad? Because what happened was, and then I think, right? So now you got the thing thinking, and you got the infinite watching the thing. then there would be a thing thinking, which is a thing watching, the infinite watching the ego. So now there's a watcher of the watcher of the watcher. And then it becomes weird and convoluted because it's like, but if there's a separate thing viewing the thing that's viewing infinity, if I'm capable of thinking about the fact that I'm thinking about infinity, that inherently means that there's something that isn't infinity thinking about the thing that is infinity. And that created a paradox because it's like, but then that thing's outside of it. Because the initial ego is included within infinity because infinity's watching that ego. But then if there's a thing that can think about the infinite watching the ego, that means there's something that isn't the infinite and isn't ego but doesn't fall into the categorization of the infinite, which would typically be an issue because it creates this referential thought loop where with each way you're really focus. Because you're trying to decipher, is this infinite, is this infinite, which piece is infinite? And the answer is, of course, it's all infinite. And as long as you're always in a constant state of gobbling everything up and nothing is outside of that, then you'll always have the God ego, you know what I mean, as the forefront. And essentially the separate ego can exist but it's absorbed. All the egos, all of the reflective stuff egos can exist but they're absorbed. And essentially, I'll think about how Ethereum does it, but let's just try to make it clear what I mean by that. How Ethereum goes a little something like this. How Ethereum is the last stage before the closure. And where you want to end up at is you want to end up as the I'm calling it name for it. No, let's see what's the name for it. You try to become we'll call it the super ego. We'll just steal that. We'll steal that. You're trying to become the super ego, watching the infinite watch the monkey brain, right? So you're trying to have an infinite perspective watching the brain, and then you're trying to have another ego on top of the infinite watching the brain, and that's the super ego. That's the one that feels fairly powerful. I must say though, whenever I talk about this, it sounds like three separate egos. It sounds like now to be a bottom, top, and middle ego. But that's not what it's like. It's still the one film. It's one continuous film of mind, and on that continuous film of mind, the thought texture. There's one thought texture, and that thought texture is and the infinite watching the finitude, and then the ego watching it. So there's the pure infinite. There's the being which looks out through the monkey mind's eyes, and then there's the thing watching the being with the monkey mind's eyes that thinks like, I hold that power. I hold the power of the watcher of the infinite. I am the man which can control the ability of being able to see through this existence. The really way to closing the loop is just silence. And to keep the ego running, you just don't seek silence. I mean, you can really look at it that simple. That's what we was letting earlier, but now I can look at it like that. So easy. So fun. Really plays down into I am the infinite. That's Ethereum, and then the infinite is me. That's also something interesting is that Ethereum is actually the better name for what's currently baptism. Baptism is the better name for currently Ethereum because baptism is like coming out a new man, which is like that's Ethereum. That's what we call Ethereum. Baptism is better than the other one is like I am the infinite, and Ethereum is Greek infinite. Like,
Okay, we're gonna replay that one slower and quieter because for some reason every time the most important one is the one that's the hardest to understand. I don't know what the fuck is causing that. Nope. Didn't ask you to do that. Didn't click that. Nope. Nope. Stop. There we go. Okay. Here's that same one again, 1 time speed.
I am the infinite.
What the fuck?
That's Ethereum, and then the infinite is me. That's also something interesting is that
What?
Ethereum
I
is
really
actually
want
the
to hear
better name
that.
for what is currently baptism. Baptism is better name for what's currently Ethereum because baptism is like coming out of a new man, which is like that's Ethereum. That's what we currently call Ethereum. Baptism is that, and then the other one is like I am the infinite, and Ethereum is Greek for infinite. Like it's weird, but then better twist. Sort of fascinating. Oh boy, here's we're coming. Sweet Jesus, Mary, Mother of God, good God. This is like the acid series TM, right? And so essentially, Hyperion is Hyperion. You would essentially label Hyperion as just when the cycle is open. You don't try and keep the cycles open. Hyperion is simply when the cycle is open, when the left brain is being used to think about the infinite. That's Hyperion. And when the cycle is closed, that's baptism. And so essentially what you should do is you should try for neither. You should go to baptism, get to Hyperion, and you should yo-yo between them. And this should be a continual yo-yo between Hyperion and baptism. It's so fucking interesting. And so this is the acid series. It's really basically just a more complicated way of saying, like what I always try to tell myself whenever I came back, which is everything's perfect. And then, you start, like on the days where it's not working, essentially you go, well, the fact that I'm not feeling like God is not perfect. And then it's like, well, but then the thing is that what's happening on the days where it works is that you simply realize that the fact that you think that you're not God is perfect and God. And then it's like, that's all this, the self-referential loop is really just a more complex way of saying that. It's just like, basically, everything perfect, or more accurately, everything's God, everything's infinite, including the thinking that you're not, including the thing thinking about the thing thinking that thinks that the thinking isn't perfect. That is perfect. And it's like, you just close the loop. Yeah, that gets super convoluted because the cycles can actually change. Cycles can be different cycles. Right? Like there are different cycles that can happen that all fall into the category of a cycle. But to just try and break it down, what it would be in text, you can type it in. Is essentially, there the ego. There's a monkey mind, right? And it is the one that judges everything's perfect, everything's not perfect, right? And then there's the thing which views the monkey mind, right? Now there's what we'll call the infinite perspective. And then what happens is, so now there's the infinite perspective, the thing with the clear eyes, the thing which gets a clear vision of reality, that's right? And then it views its own ego. And then there's another thing which views the thing viewing the ego. So now there's a thing, there's another ego, you could call it, right? There's another monkey mind. And that monkey mind is thinking about the infinite, thinking about the monkey mind, right? So now you've got something which isn't the infinite. You've got the infinite thinking about the ego, which makes the ego the infinite. But then you have another ego thinking about the infinite, thinking about the ego. And now this ego thinking about the infinite, thinking about the ego is inherently not the infinite, because it's another cycle behind the infinite in the loop. And then what you would need to do to close it. So now, right, you've got the monkey mind, you've got the infinite thinking about the monkey mind, and then you've got the monkey mind thinking about the infinite, thinking about the monkey mind. And to finally close it, what you need to do is you need to realize that all of that is infinite. Every single piece, including what it feels like is it feels like that's the feeling of like you stop caring about death. Like in Hyperion, you do care about death. Because you're like, I am the infinite. I am action channeling the infinite. I still care about dying. Then there's this. When you truly close the loop, you no longer care about dying. Because when you truly close the loop, now everything is the infinite. The thing, like the Ashton who's thinking about the fact that he doesn't want to die is the infinite. Therefore, you don't not want to die. It's like all of it fades into it. All of the loop, because like that loop can go on forever, right? That loop can continue. You can be the monkey mind. Then you can go, I am the infinite doing the monkey mind. Then there can be another ego which spawns in, which thinks about the monkey mind. And then you can summon an infinite to look at that monkey mind, and then it can summon another monkey mind. And it can just keep going on and on and on and on. It can be very frustrating because it's pulling you out of it. But then what you just have to realize is it's like those moments of monkey mind are also the infinite. And that makes me go away. I'll try and lay it out in clear examples. So on average day, I'm riding my dirt bike, I'm listening to music. So I'm just thinking about it. I'm in like that time when I was in class, I was going to pencil across the class and hit that girl in the head, or I'm thinking about the past, like what about units. And then what I do is then I think, okay, right now I'm a human thinking about time, thinking about the past, right? Like, and of course it's not like that, like left brain. It's not like that would be more deconstruction. But you get that feeling. You summon the infinite feeling, which starts viewing things as bizarrely, starts doing like wholesale deconstruction on the entire perception structure. Jesus Christ, man, we're getting so far into it. Holy shit. But anyway, so now you're the infinite viewing the perception structure of the human, right? And then what happens, right, is and then you get a thought that basically thinks like I'll need to think of an example. Yeah, so then you'll have a thought, which is like, so it can even look like this. It can even look like, so now you're the infinite viewing the memory, and then you slip into another memory or another separate thought, right? And then that essentially is jarring, because it's like, okay, but so I was the infinite thinking about that thought, and then another thought came in, right? And now there's a thought, even though there's an infinite viewing thought, there's now another thought which isn't encapsulated in the infinite. And then that's jarring, because it's like, yeah, that doesn't quite make sense. Okay, so that's not the perfect example, but that's one functional example. But to give a better example, the most common one is whenever you get a one that is basically thinking, but it's like, but this isn't the infinite perspective. And that's the most common monkey mind. I'll tell you about it. So you get you're thinking about the past, right? Then you get an infinite perspective. You get the perspective of infinity viewing the eyes, and then you get another thought, which is just like so basically. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to the same example because we're getting really into weeds with thought textures instead of actual words. I'm trying to use words in the example, and that isn't gonna work for that thought texture. But so anyway, so with words again, it's like I thought like I want to go down to the house, and then you're like, yeah, but that thought was just had from not inside the perspective of the infinite, and you're trying to like maintain this grip, this hold over the infinite. You're trying to like steel man the infinite into existence. It's like that doesn't work. You can't constantly hold that every second of every single day, and doing it just becomes frustrating. It'll actually make you lose it more often. What you do instead is you hold this loose grip of like, so you are the infinite viewing it, and then you get another thought, and then it's like, and then you realize that that thought is also the infinite. So it's like, I don't know, man. This is getting real complicated. You just ask me specific questions. I can do that much easier. Trying to like parse it all out is very difficult.
Loose grip is pure intuition.
Yeah, so that was me the other day. I thought it was really good. And then two cardinals, two big red birds flew in front of my truck while I was driving, and then I could do like a visual read it on the front. I thought it was there. But really good framework is especially specifically for.
You say I was punching my punching bag in the dark and missed the bag and fist slammed into the wall and apparently I demolished a bug. On one hand, poor fellow. On the other hand, this seems like a hilarious cosmic joke that I just blindly eviscerates.
Texture in the mind of God, if you're going to that. Yeah, that was me the other day. I thought it was really good. And then two cardinals, two big red birds flew in front of my truck while I was driving, and then I could do like a visual read it on the front. I thought it was there. But really good framework is especially specifically for thought texture in the mind of God, if you're going to that. A really useful framework is, I was right in the middle of a fucking roll, and then I had to take scenic pictures for 2 fucking hours to get all my daylight. I'm not going to ride my dirt bike now. and it knocked me a little bit off my roll, but honestly, we're still rolling strong. I think I'll be back to it in a minute. But so that's it. But anyway, I actually thought I looked at a model. Anyway, my point is that I completely fucking forgot what I was talking about, and it was it's sometimes it's difficult to view the current moment as perfect if you're in it, but if you can view like child slavery and rape and starving to death and like act about, which I can, and it's like, well, then basically it's really easy to just view that as beautiful, and then you're like, now how is the present moment not beautiful now? And you're like, oh yeah, so that's just like a sort of basic bitch tool to help get people back on. And it's only it only works with non-dual sustainable viewing, like the hell is good, like the perils of this reality. Doing it, it's only with those people with a few helpful, but. So I just example is I just maximum to zero. I know I'm to zero, 9 seconds to zero, and then essentially it kept interrupting me, and it kept walking on my thoughts. And this is what I meant before whenever I said qbit perfection is it's like you need to it's problem solving. It's a problem solving framework, the troubleshooting framework. Essentially, you need to view all of the things. And so essentially, in this moment, I was trying to do the old form of perfection. The perfection I was trying to do earlier today when I was sober. I was like, 1 second, and it wasn't working because I was trying to do a different thing. In this case, I was trying to close the perfection on the ego. Where in this case, there is no ego because the ego's been obliterated by Sub-Zero. And what's left is this chatter. That's just random chatter in random directions. Because the ego base is just there, and I'm not very connected to it. And then essentially, when I'm trying to block out the ego, I focus on the ego, and the ego's not a problem. So I'm wasting my energy, and then Sub-Zero is raping me from behind. And so what I meant by qbit is basically what you need to do is you need to find the problem. I discovered that Sub-Zero was the piece of the open loop. Sub-Zero was the piece that I could wrap my brain around. Sub-Zero was the piece that wasn't factored into the infinite. It was providing a jarring wrench in the equation because it wasn't factored for. So I troubleshot, found that out, and then closed the loop. Thought that the feeling that Sub-Zero was giving me was perfection. It turned into like thrashing and writhing, and then I viewed that as perfection, and then boom, we're there, silent. Babu Booey. This very much fucking key area on the planet.
Okay, listen to that back again. That is a super interesting voice message. Listen back to this and tell me your thoughts on it.
So I just and then essentially it kept interrupting me, and it kept walking on my thoughts. And this is what I meant before whenever I said qbit perfection is it's like you need to it's problem solving. It's a problem solving framework, the troubleshooting framework. Essentially, you need to view all of the things. And so essentially, in this moment, I was trying to do the old form of perfection. The perfection I was trying to do earlier today when I was sober. I was like, 1 second, and it wasn't working because I was trying to do a different thing. In this case, I was trying to close the perfection on the ego. Where in this case, there is no ego because the ego's been obliterated by Sub-Zero. And what's left is this chatter. There's just random chatter in random directions. Because the ego base is just there, and I'm not very connected to it. And then essentially, when I'm trying to block out the ego, I focus on the ego, and the ego's not a problem. So I'm wasting my energy, and then Sub-Zero is raping me from behind. And so what I meant by qbit is basically what you need to do is you need to find the problem. I discovered that Sub-Zero was the piece of the open loop.
That's a good bit. The phone died.
Oh, nice.
That's a pretty good bit.
So were you essentially saying like this was like a Sub-Zero focused framework, or just this framework that excelled at Sub-Zero?
No, that was a really good voice message because it literally captured in 1 minute and 18 seconds or whatever it was the entire process of like breaking out of the loop or getting into a feedback loop, basically, where it was like through Sub-Zero and through the misery Sub-Zero was causing me, through that misery and confusion, I inherently consumed that misery and confusion, and it's like I just closed the loop. And it's like within that 1 minute voice message, it was like I actually explained perfectly how to close the loop. Like the other times I tried to explain it, it was like really janky, and I was like trying to shift through examples to find the right one and stuff. But that was the first one where like I gave an example and then I finished that example straight in like 1 minute 18 seconds, and I explained the full process of within that how to close the loop given that example. But you know what's insane? You won't even believe this. We were still on April 22nd.
No way.
I'm not even kidding.
How long does it go?
I mean, I don't think we even made that much progress tonight. I think we probably made like a fourth of the way through, if I had to guess.
Wow.
So
is this their main chat or something?
Oh yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's going to have a lot of gold in it. I mean, I'm sure we just made our way through a lot of it. I'm sure, apparently, this month of April contains like 90% of our spiritual breakthroughs ever. That was God's April's Fool's bit, was to keep us in this loop for eternity. I guess literally until we learn to close the loop.
That's so funny. And then find the feedback loop.
You betcha. Get into it. What do you think about reconvening? Do you think reconvening is an instant death sentence to this call? Do you think you want to go to sleep right now anyways? What are your thoughts?
I am definitely very tired, and any amount of good commentary is going to be limited. So what we should do with that, I don't know.
It shouldn't matter too much because we need to just probably get through this stuff. I mean, considering we're still in April.
You want to, whenever you do it, you just want to scroll, see how much of April we have left. Maybe just like try and get through this godforsaken month.
Yeah, I'm trying to scroll up right now and see that. Let's see. And then our next month that's like that is December this month. It's brutal. Like, absolutely fucking brutal.
Which one, April or December?
December. I mean, April is too, as you know.
Well, the December one should be interesting because it's like we just did that, so it should be a lot easier.
Okay, so it looks like June's a big month. It's no April, but June's a big month. And then May, it looks like, is a big month. But not
What?
huge
Wait.
either. Huh?
May, June. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. I was mistaken the summers. Presumably, I mean, it should stop sometime in the summer because I'm in Kentucky.
Yeah, we don't have that much left. Because it's
Of April.
just those 2 months. Whatever I said. May and whatever else.
All right.
And then it's smooth sailing until December. So I would say between May and June or whatever, we probably have like another half or another 3/4 of April.
Okay.
My guess would be we have another half April. And then is the new stuff. Oh, crazy. Yo, that's whack.